take no for an answer. There's no telling where we've been. And all I know is that if you can't find me, you may never want to find me again. Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
I was almost laughing so hard I forgot to put the go live button for the show, so that was almost a snafu. But we're here, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday night on the show. It means we're here for another episode of the Ballroom Podcast. Some of us decided to join the show early tonight, so this is going to be a very special show here. But before we get started, let's go ahead and introduce everyone to the panel tonight. Of course, we have our good buddy Cole Cage, who is here. Cassie, have you heard anything about Aaron Rodgers possibly going to the Jets?
Oh yeah, I heard that they flew out to go have like a one-on-one discussion with him, so that's interesting. I mean, I think that we took Brett Favre. At the time, Brett Favre should have been fucking retired. So like I feel like we're crossing like common paths yet again with like taking the Packers leftovers. But I mean, given the current situation, I think that anything like the Jets have like a decent team. They just don't have a franchise quarterback. They haven't had a franchise quarterback since I was like fucking 11 years old when Chad Pennington played.
Even then, they didn't have one.
No, he was a genuinely good quarterback, but after he blew out his shoulder, him and our fucking secondary blew out their shoulder. Like literally, the play he did it, and then the play after our backup also blew out his shoulder. So that was basically what we were dealing with, and we haven't had a franchise quarterback since. So I mean, hopefully it's kind of kickstart something until we can find the guy to be the franchise quarterback. But I mean, I think Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, might as well just call him fucking Brett Favre. Not for nothing.
So basically, he'll go to New York for 1 year. He'll miss the playoffs, and then the next year he'll go to the Vikings, and in about 15 years he'll fraud some people in Mississippi out of church funds, something like that, right? Same pattern.
It's crazy how fast like Aaron Rodgers' career kind of just came and went, because he's going towards the end of his career, and it's like I feel like he's only been in the league for just a little while.
Well, I mean, I think he got drafted in 2005, and then he spent the first couple of years just sitting behind Brett Favre, and then he finally got a chance to lead, won a Super Bowl. I think it was like 2010, and everyone thought that he was going to be the next Brady and Manning, and then it just never really happened. You know. Yeah. Well, speaking of disappointment, let's hop over to our good buddy, Mr. Rob Mata. How you doing tonight, Rob?
Oh, I'm pretty good. If I could just jump in there for a second, I mean, the Jets. Yeah, I remember when Chad Pennington was like beating Peyton Manning in a playoff game, like 41-3, like early 2000s.
He's a good quarterback, man. He was.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
Some of those teams were really good. It never panned out, and he had a lot of injuries to deal with. I think he won Comeback Player of the Year, like with the Dolphins, like later in his career. So, it was okay. It was just I think injuries derailed him ultimately. Yep. So. But yeah, I don't know. I think Lamar, just to jump in the sports talk, I think Lamar Jackson doesn't really deserve, what is it, $50 million a year guaranteed for 5 years. So he wants a completely guaranteed contract, which is it's unheard of.
Well, they just gave Daniel Jones $160 million after having one decent season his entire career. So that New York State area not making great decisions at the moment. Just put that way.
Yeah, and I know the salary cap's going up. I know that look, that's the standard right now. That Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get $45 million a year. You know, like guys that aren't superstars are like Ryan Tannehill. I guess the Titans are sticking with Ryan Tannehill. They're going to pay him $29 million this year. You know what I mean? Who's he throwing to? So it's like, I know that this is just the way the league's going with the standard and the market for contracts, but it just seems insane to like dole out this money for such like mediocre quarterback play that probably isn't going to get you to the playoffs. I think Aaron Rodgers, by the way, I think putting him in the Jets offense with like Breece Hall coming back and like those receivers and that defense, to me, that's like an interesting combination. Maybe he has lost a step. He's been in the league for 18 years, so that'll happen. But I think that it's possible he could lead that team next year to the playoffs. But then again, I said the same thing about Russell Wilson last year, and so we'll see. What I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
It's crazy how he fell off in particular. Like that's
like he didn't just fall off. It's like
Eli Manning. Like Eli Manning was pretty damn good for a long period of his career, and then just down the shitter. It's weird how that happens, man.
Yeah. Well, speaking of New York or somewhere in that area, Mr. Orange Hat, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I mean, I'm gonna have to ask Cassie a question though. It's like your first string and second string quarterback ripped their shoulders consecutively in 2 plays.
No, I don't think it's consecutively in 2 exact plays, but it literally happened the same game. Chad Pennington.
That's still a level of curse that should make you never want to be a fan of the Jets again.
You're not kidding, man.
I mean,
but my entire life, I was a Jets fan. I'm the type of person, if the Jets have a shitty team, I'm just not buying Madden that year because I don't play as any other team. I have no interest in playing any other team. That's just the type of like fan that I am, even though I'm not really into football anymore. But yeah, being a Jets fan has been pain and suffering my entire life. The Jets won a Super Bowl when my dad was like fucking like single digits in age.
I mean, the last quarterback that I even remember from the Jets, can't even remember his name, but I know that he played in the 90s.
Vinny Testaverde?
No.
Must have been the guy before him, and I don't know who that is. I like Vinny Testaverde. I watched play when I was, well, shit, we're going back to the 60s, but when I was cognitive.
Look, the only thing I know about Jets quarterbacks is that they had a chance to draft Dan Marino and they passed. So
well, let's see, you got Boomer, Boomer Esiason, right? Mm-hmm. You've got Neil O'Donnell, you've got Glenn Foley. God. You know what I mean? Like you have a lot of fucking bum quarterbacks. I mean,
to be fair, a lot of people shit on the Jets for not drafting Dan Marino, but the guy that they did draft wasn't bad. It's just they did not draft Dan Marino. So I understand that. But I forget what his name is. He was a good quarterback in his own right, to be fair.
But it wasn't Dan Marino.
Ken O'Brien? Was that it?
Yeah. You're right.
Yep.
That's the one. That's the one I think that I was thinking of. Yeah.
Well, someone who knows nothing about the NFL but knows a lot about black men is our good buddy C.S. Johnson. How you doing tonight?
Hey.
Wow.
If I try to explain that joke, it's just going to take forever. Let's just move past it. And then joining us with his gang-affiliated hat is Mr. Rick Aragon. How you doing today, Rick?
Yeah, doing pretty well here. Finally.
Yeah, don't do that in LA. You would definitely get shot. Yeah, it'd be like a fucking like OG Cholo or something like that. It's like, that's not gonna work out for you.
That's right. I'll be fine. I'll sing a couple of Morrissey songs and they'll embrace me as one of their own. That's all you really need to fit in with all the Mexicans down there.
Well, it's not the Mexicans you need to be worried about, but that's a conversation for a different day. Joining us in our chat here tonight, I know Spencer is here, the Weeb King, as he's now calling himself. I guess that's better than Simp. So how are you doing today, Spencer? We got Spencer in the chat. C.S. Johnson is also harassing people in the chat currently as well. We have Alex versus Evil joining us here tonight. Duke doing his typical non-English song and dance that he's doing there, I guess I could say. Neo's here.
Times money.
Rob is somewhere timing people out in the chat tonight. Our good buddy Dope Effect's here. So yeah, everyone in everyone's in the chat here with us here tonight. So I wanted to start off this one hot because there's a few rants I can go on here, but I want to start off with, I guess, a follow-up from the story from a year ago, and that is Mr. Chris Rock, who finally, after almost a full calendar year, has decided to talk about what happened last year at the Oscars. And if you don't remember what happened last year, he was presenting an award. He was doing a couple of jokes, made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith about being in G.I. Jane 2, and all of a sudden, Will Smith decided to come up on the stage and just slap him in the face, sit back down, and then scream, "Keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth." And all the memes and everything associated with that has been going nonstop for the last year. Will's career has been in shambles. He's trying to find his way back right now, but all the memes haven't gone anywhere. But Chris Rock has stayed pretty silent about the entire thing for the last year. He hasn't spoken out about it in any interviews. He hasn't talked about it in stand-up. He said that he'll talk about it in the time that he's ready. He decided that he was going to talk about it on the Netflix special, a live Netflix special he released last Saturday night. So I'm going to play a little clip here. This is specifically what he was talking about Will and Jada and the whole situation. So I'll let Chris Rock take it up here, and you can listen to what he has to say.
His wife was fucking her son's friend, okay? Now, I normally would not talk about this shit, but for some reason, these niggas put that shit on the internet.
Nah, it's a Twitter video, so I'm having some lagging issues here.
Dan, you Musk.
Yeah.
No, Twitter videos sucked for a long time. Like, that's just the notorious downside of that social media site.
I saw that clip, dude. He went scorched earth.
Yeah, no, I was surprised how funny some of those clips are.
It turns out it wasn't the Twitter video. The video actually got claimed by Netflix as I was playing it.
Jesus.
So I guess Netflix is taking down all the videos on Twitter.
That's fucking insane, dude.
Wow.
I literally refreshed it, and it says media has been disabled by copyright owners. So yeah, apparently
Netflix went Nazi, man. Wow.
What you need is to have someone read the script and reenact it. I mean, they can't copyright claim you if you basically just quote it and give like a dramatic reading of it.
So I watched the majority of the special. I watched like the first half hour, and I didn't laugh. The only thing that I laughed at, so basically Discord does this thing where an individual who can stream, what they're watching. And so I was watching it off one of my homies, Big Mike. Shout out to Big Mike. And he was laughing the whole time at it. And I wasn't laughing at Chris Rock. I was laughing at his wheezing on the cusp of dropping dead laugh, because that's how Big Mike laughs. So I thought that was funny. So I watched like the first half hour, stepped away for like 20 minutes, and then caught the end. And honestly, the only thing funny about the special is the end, where he does, talk about that whole situation regarding Will Smith. It basically drops a bomb on that entire family. I mean, and deservingly so. I mean, at the end of the day, the dude got the shit slapped out of him for making a G.I. Jane joke. Like, that's how dull Chris Rock is, and nothing's changed very much, except now he has something like, he has like the pot of gold that everyone wants to hear. So like, you're gonna listen to him for that, but he's not really that funny. He used to be funnier back in the day, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, so I'll say this real quick. I watched the special too, and I feel the exact same way that you did. It was like I think I tuned out maybe about 20 minutes into like the special, because I was like waiting. Okay, when were we getting to the part that anyone like cares about? Like all his other jokes was not very good. There's way funnier Chris Rock stand up than the one he did last Saturday night. But essentially, the last 2 minutes, or I guess the last 3 or 4 minutes of the show, is where he actually talks about the whole situation. And what he was leading on to there was that he was saying that the whole world was calling Will Smith a bitch because his wife slept with his son's friend, and it's like on Charlemagne and Breakfast Club and everyone on social media was calling him a bitch. He decides to hit me, and which is some bitch made shit, because obviously he was talking about that Will Smith is like a much bigger guy than he is, so he went and slapped someone that he knew that he can beat. And it basically just like ripped through Jada, basically said, F off the both of them. If you remember, I think it was like a few months back, Will Smith did his little public apology to Chris Rock, where he was trying to get Rock to accept his apology. Rock obviously had no intentions of ever accepting his apology based on everything that had happened here. So the prevailing narrative here for this whole special is that Chris Rock is still very, very upset by what happened. You can tell by the way that he was delivering that joke too that he's still pretty pissed off about what happened and like the whole fallout too. It's like, obviously people can find ways to to kind of like make fun of things by using jokes, but you can tell that he's still very, very upset about the way the whole thing went down. So I'll go ahead and talk this over to you guys. What are your thoughts on Chris Rock basically slamming Will and Jada over this whole thing?
I mean, I've only seen like the clips like from ROTC, which were all about Will Smith. So I thought that was pretty funny. I haven't seen the special yet. And Chris Rock, like he had a great reputation in the 90s. Like he had really razor sharp HBO specials. Like I think 3 of them throughout the 90s that were really highly rated and highly lauded. And I think he's that's where a big part of his reputation comes from. It certainly doesn't help being friends with Adam Sandler. But yeah, I mean, he has every right to kind of get up there and, try, basically have a segment of his special be about this high profile actor assaulting him on stage. You know what I mean? So, it's whatever. I might check it out at some point just to see if it's any good, but yeah, I'm just kind of glad this whole thing's coming to a close because I'm tired of talking about it.
Yeah, and I'll let the Orange Chat go here. I just want to point this out too. Like this whole thing's been going on for like a year, and people were like still angry about it. Keep in mind when we reviewed the Magic Mike movie a couple weeks back, the reason why Tiny Newton was not in that film because she got into a fight with Channing Tatum over this incident. And for some reason, specifically on Black Twitter, I've noticed this too, where it's like in their mind, like Jada is somehow the victim here. So anyone who is siding with Chris Rock in this whole scenario is either like anti-black or doesn't like black people. So they're siding with Will Smith because he defended his wife who's black. Like, what sense of reality are these people living in where somehow Jada is actually the victim in this entire scenario where Will Smith slapped Chris Rock over a joke?
Worse. You know what I mean? It's a joke. We're not even talking. Yeah. He didn't physically do anything to her. So yeah, go ahead,
Arnett. Everybody's saying he made fun of her condition. No, he didn't. If he made fun of her condition, he would have mentioned her condition, the alopecia. He simply said her short hair made her the next runner-up for a G.I. Jane sequel or something. That's nothing mentioning alopecia. But also the fact that comedians are allowed to tell controversial jokes. That is why, or it's because of that, because of how they're allowed to do what most people can't. They're allowed to say things that everybody else is not allowed to in society because there is an expected leeway, an expected lenience that allows them to push those things. Self-deprecating humor is also one of the things that they also like to do. And Chris Rock, when he did that segment blasting the Smiths, he did it with passion, man. As you said, he is still very much angry about it. And so when he said it, I'm like, I can feel the anger just waving off of him, man.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's like, holy crap. But honestly, he didn't just go after Will Smith. He also went after Jada. And that's the wonderful thing because everybody's saying, oh my God, he's so bad for doing this. It's like, no, they brought it on themselves because they made their lives public. Once you do that, guess what? It's fair game. Also, Netflix pulling that video. Apparently, they're unaware of the fair use clause, by the way. People are
it's technically not even their video. It was a video that somebody else recorded of that one bit. But because it went super viral, they're shutting it down because they want people to go to Netflix and watch the full special, which isn't that good to begin with. So that's their whole.
They're only shutting down. They're shutting down an essentially advertisement for it.
Yep.
They're shutting down advertisement for it. But also, if he really wanted to go scorched earth, believe me, he could have, because we also know, or everybody, I'm pretty sure, knows that Jada Pinkett Smith freaking admitted she taught her daughter how to flick the bean, and she
Yeah.
taught her in person how to do it. I'm like, that is one twisted fucking family.
Yeah, and, it's very weird too. I mean, I wouldn't say it's weird, but it's kind of sad that for so many years, Will and Jada were like propped up as like the model black family in not only in Hollywood, but just kind of like in like black culture and stuff like that. Like everyone looked up to Will and Jada. It's like, oh, I want to have a relationship just like them and stuff like that. And over the last 5 years or so, we've really just come to learn publicly what a complete and utter fraud their entire marriage is. Their marriage, the way that they're raising their kids, and a lot of other things associated with them, and then quite a few people as well. But there's still a whole lot of people out there that still buy into this fantasy that they have in their heads about the type of relationship and marriage that Will and Jada has. It's like if the last few years haven't woken you up to the fact that this whole thing is just a complete BS scam, I don't know what to tell you at this point. You'll buy anything.
Yeah,
Indeed.
what's crazy though is that like I guess Netflix, I have to argue maybe they're doing the right thing, because honestly the only highlight is those last like 2 minutes.
Yeah, like literally the last 4 minutes of like the whole special.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And it's, I don't blame him for feeling how he feels. I mean, and I don't blame him for using this to get excitement in his stand-up. I mean, to me, it just sounded like he wanted to be Dave Chappelle so bad, but just doesn't have that level of like entertainment value behind him. He's just not nearly as interesting, not nearly as funny. I don't know if he's self-sanitized or what it is about his craft that's changed. Maybe he's just getting older, maybe more mature. I can't really say for sure, but he just isn't that interesting. So I don't blame him for doing what he did. I mean, hey, you took it on the chin like a man, and now you're gonna go talk shit like a woman. I'm mad at him, yo.
Yep.
As Abridged Frieza says, like a bitch.
Word up.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have any last thoughts on this one before we move on, but I'll let you guys get your last thoughts here on the Chris Rock situation.
Well, it's not the first time Chris Rock has made fun of Jada Pinkett Smith. We forget that when he hosted the Oscars, and they had, she said that she was going to boycott because there weren't enough black nominees. He made the joke that her boycotting the Oscars was like him boycotting Rihanna's panties. Like he wasn't invited and she wasn't invited. Nobody cares. Yeah, so I don't know if that was a residual from for what happened, but look, I've been pretty clear. I don't think Will Smith should have stayed at the ceremony. I think he should have been arrested, and I also think that he shouldn't have won because it's a lousy performance. Having said that, yeah, I mean, who can blame the guy for being mad? Because there was no need for him to have reacted. Will Smith, if you see the video, Will Smith was laughing until Jada rolled her eyes, and she probably egged him on to defend her honor. Why? I mean, her honor is really beyond defending at this point. If they're willing to talk about how they've been stripping other people on television or on
Yeah.
the internet, if you're willing to make those kinds of confessions, if you're willing to overshare your public life, you have no right to complain. It's kind of like the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, who are bemoaning how they, we want privacy. South Park made fun of them, and they were like, maybe thinking about suing them. But why? When they go on these television shows and they do all these interviews and they talk about their private lives, Will and Jada Smith, I mean, they had like what, kind of an open therapy session at one point where they were talking about how she was cheating. I mean, it's all public record. She has no place to complain. He has no place to complain. If you get this man who's taller and towers over you to like whack you, of course you should be angry. But then again, I don't find Chris Rock funny. I just never laughed. All he has is kind of that high pitched voice that he uses. That's the whole shtick from my perspective. So yeah, I'm glad he was able to let it all out, but he should have let it out on Oscar night by calling the popo and getting him locked up, and he could pick up his Oscar after he makes bail. that was my view. It hasn't changed.
My closing thoughts on this topic, because I hope it's everyone's done
The
talking
end.
about it for a while. Is just like Will Smith knew he was gonna win last year. Like everybody knew Will Smith was gonna win Best Actor for that performance in the Williams Sisters movie with King Richard.
Yeah.
He could have made a statement. He could have eloquently, said to not insult his wife and kind of like did a verbal smackdown of Chris Rock when he went up to win his award. But he didn't do, he instead acted in a manner that's, most jurisdictions would consider a criminal, criminal thing. So it's just, I don't know.
Keep in
I'm
mind,
done talking
remember-
about it, but it's just sad.
You're going to hear about it on Sunday, all right? You're
Yeah,
going to hear
exactly.
about it on Sunday.
But keep in mind, remember after he slapped him, he still went up there and accepted his award and didn't offer any apologies whatsoever towards Chris Rock. And if you've noticed with Will Smith, the more he's made his life public, this whole persona of him being like this super nice guy, this super chill individual is like, dude has every marking of like a sociopath. Like that's essentially like who he is. Like this whole persona, like there's so many people in Hollywood over the last few years where this whole facade of this person that they've built up among themselves has just completely crashed down. You can point at people like Ellen DeGeneres is another one who everyone thought publicly, oh, she's a super nice lady. She likes to dance all the time in her shows. Like, no, she's one of the most evil people you can possibly work for. And then when that finally got exposed, it's like, oh, guess what? I have to retire now. Yeah, because nobody wants to work for you anymore. But,
Yeah, you could go back to Rosie O'Donnell. Remember, she was supposed to be the queen of nice.
yeah.
No.
Will Smith is
there's no
basically
way.
like Hancock from the Hancock movie that he starred in at the beginning of the movie he's an asshole.
Yep.
I mean, the same thing that triggers him all the time. It's like, I would actually walk right up to Will Smith and it's like, dude, you literally are the asshole that Hancock was in the beginning of that Hancock movie.
And
Remember
know
in the
that-
90s, his whole persona was, oh, yeah, I don't swear in my rap songs because I'm a role model for the kids. It's like, this the role model that you guys want? This your hero?
Well, to be
Yeah,
very
clean
fair,
rap.
he does like work and live in Hollywood or whatever. Maybe becoming a sociopath is like a defense mechanism.
Mhm.
And note his apology came only because he had a movie to promote, a movie that he was aspiring to be another Oscar epic and which bombed big time. I mean, I don't think even Apple Plus, I don't even know if they still show it or if if there were any viewers for it.
I
But who's
watched
going-
it.
I'm so
There
sorry.
was there was also a joke that somebody said that Chris Rock watched Will Smith's Emancipation movie just to see him get whipped.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what Chris
Yeah.
Rock said.
No,
Yeah.
that's part of the
it.
joke. The
Yeah.
jokes that he does, he talks
He
about.
said,
that.
like, Chris
Oh,
Rock
so he
literally
actually
said,
said it in the thing.
Yeah.
he said that, and he literally said it's like the only time he was rooting for quote unquote Massa.
Right.
Oh,
Just-
God.
Yeah, Massa hit him again. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty good. I thought it was pretty good, but yeah.
Well, like I said, hopefully it's the last time we'll have to worry about it. Congrats to Chris Rock on monetizing it and saving it for something good. You know, it's really captivated our attention. But
You're-
since it's black on black crime, we have other things to talk about.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh! Well, no, we're going to hear about it on Sunday, and so we need to load up on the booze as we keep rolling about that.
It's going to be a long Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday night we're live streaming the Oscars with a few suckers that we've invited on to watch the show with us for 3.5 hours. So yeah, those two over there are probably going to be on there as well. So
So what? 8:00 Eastern, 5:00 Pacific. I think.
Yep.
Is when it starts. So yep.
all the way to damn near midnight because you're in a room full of sociopaths and narcissists. Well,
I'm
speaking
watching the Raven Awards.
yeah, right. Speaking of fake ass gangsters, let's move on to the NBA. Jon Morant, who decided that now he's just going to be the new Tupac Shakur by flashing guns and being involved in a lot of criminal activity over the last few days. This is a multi-millionaire NBA basketball player who now wants to be gangster for the culture. So there was already talks about him before this incident, but the incident that jumped us off here was that I think last Saturday he posted a video of himself on Instagram at a strip club where he's flashing a gun towards the phone in the strip club. So obviously that led to a lot of people asking some questions about what the hell you're doing. And now this has sparked an investigation because apparently this is not the first incident that he's had with a gun. Apparently he may have snuck a gun into the team plane, which is a big no-no. There's now things about ownership, whether it was illegal firearms, state lines, and a whole bunch of other things. So now he said that in the last couple of days that he's going to take some time off to focus on his mental health. And he's been suspended by the team for at least 2 games, which means he's going to be suspended a lot more than that. And now there's talks about the league hammering him down on a 50-game suspension. Now, Memphis is actually a pretty solid team right now. I think they're like in the top 4 in the West. That's if you care about basketball. I mean, I haven't watched basketball in like 7 years, so I'm just throwing that out there for you guys. But there was also an incident with him a few months back where I guess he got into a fight with a teenager at a pick'em game where him and a couple of his boys jumped this teenager, and then that was kind of swept under the rug a little bit. But this has been going on for a while. And of course, Nike, keep in mind, this is the same organization that condemned Kyrie Irving for posting a link to a Amazon documentary about Black Israelites. And they completely severed ties with him and condemned him. But here we are with the video about him at the strip club. You can see it here. I won't play it here because, I mean, maybe Netflix will claim that shit too. But it talks about Nike statements that we appreciate Ja's accountability, which he took absolutely no accountability for anything that he did in that statement. And when he's taking the time to get the help that he needs, we support his prioritization of his well-being. So, like I said, the incident holds a gun at a strip club. Now there's investigations into that. It talks about what happened here with the kid that he beat up. Yeah, 17-year-old. It somehow got suspended less games than Kyrie Irving. It just goes to show the entire hypocrisy behind all this here. But everyone's talking about this because here you have a young kid. I think he's like 24, 25 years old, one of the top stars in the league, and he's seemingly throwing his life away, trying to be this image of like this fake, I know, gangster. Like he's supposed to be the real one, what they say on Black Twitter. Memphis is like second in the West right now, so they're actually like a top tier team at the moment. He's pretty much jeopardizing the entire season for them. So, what is your thoughts on Jon Morant's Tupac impersonation? I'll start with Cassie. You're muted, by the way.
Thanks, but I have dog barking in the background. So.
Oh, okay.
But
that makes sense.
Yeah, overall, man, it's a shame to see someone that managed to achieve all this success destroying it in their own hands. Like, there's really no excuse to make for him. He definitely needs to change up what he's doing, stop doing this crazy shit. Like one of my all-time favorite players was Derek Jeter, because I was a Yankees fan. And the dude, you never heard anything bad about Jeter. Meanwhile, he stood like fucking 2 feet away from the problem of the team with Alex Rodriguez. And it's a perfect example of what you want to be as a player and what you don't want to be as a player. But I don't think anything Alex Rodriguez has done kind of comes close to like, just freely waving a gun around and thinking that you're fucking badass. Like that stuff needs to cut out, man. Like people are so fortunate to be in some of the positions that they're in. All these players that are in basketball or any professional sports, man, you're literally brought together and paid millions of dollars to play a fucking kids game in the grand scheme of things, So, just think about what you got and what you could lose. I hope that this does, wake this guy up. Who knows? I don't really know him from Adam, so I can't really say to his personality, but I would hope that he does stop doing this and he, becomes, not a detriment to his team or a detriment to himself, because people like society. This. Yeah, no doubt. Also society, because, we've seen instances of this before and they don't end well, sadly.
Yeah, ask Aaron Hernandez how this whole thing ended up for him. But Rob, let me ask you this question, because it's come very, very clear to me, especially with this generation, for some weird reason, that when you look back at like the early 90s, like the late 80s, early 90s, when we really started popularizing gang culture through hip hop and movies, and it was movies like, Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood, South Central, all of these centralized, look at the gang culture in like Los Angeles and let's popularize it. Let's get NWA and Snoop and Dre and Ice Cube to popularize this lifestyle that is probably taking more lives than in any other music genre or any other cultural genre that we've given light to. And now we have these young kids, like I said, 24, 25 years old, that are embracing this culture as if it's something to be glorified. So everyone, like I said, everyone wants to be a real tough guy. Everyone wants to be a real one. They want to be down for the culture and do dumb shit like this. And they're only throwing away like their own lives, but wherever we say that, they say the real problem is white supremacy. Now maybe the problem's in the mirror. What do you think of this whole thing with John Morant?
Yeah, he's a talented guy. I've seen enough of him play where he's he's at the top of his position. He competes at a really high level. So I think that like no matter what, he's really talented. He shouldn't be throwing his life away. It reminds me honestly of Gilbert Arenas, this Washington Wizards guard back in the day who got into trouble for bringing a loaded handgun into the locker room. And then apparently there's some kind of like gambling backstory to this involving another teammate. And so that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of somebody who's fucking around with guns and gang culture when, I mean, there's no reason that they should. Gang culture really comes out of poverty. You know what I mean? Like, I love the like mob movies, and I love like mafia history and stuff. And like so much of this stuff is like, oh hey, the mob doesn't exist anymore, so we need to create a new generation of criminals. And so I don't know if that's why this shit gets perpetuated, through like music and movies and shit. But it's sad and it's unfortunate. And here's the thing, like I know it's in that culture to be hard and like tough and not back down and shit. You know what? I'll be the first to admit this. I'm a fucking coward. I don't want to go to jail. Like I don't want to fucking, I don't want to deal with the consequences that the criminal life, gives you. So it's like, you know what, man? Don't fuck with that because it gets real scary real quick. Like look at some of the hip hop artists that have been accused of murder, and look at the life sentences that they're staring down in the courtroom. It's like, it gets real quick.
Not only that, I'll raise you one even bigger than this, and Cassie knows because we've talked about this on occasion as well. Think about all the rappers you've heard of in the last 5 to 10 years who have gotten gunned down and killed in a lot of these cities all across the country. Like you've never heard of them, but they're always getting shot down. They're always getting gunned down. There's a few I can name. XSS Tentacion was a big one who got gunned down in Miami. You had who's the guy? Young Dolph apparently got gunned down in Memphis, which should be like another one. There's at least 20 rappers that you can point to. These are all kids who are like 20, 19 years old, all getting gunned down, all getting murdered. They don't live to see 30 years old because what hip hop has adopted and what's been popularized over the last few years is that you have now legitimate criminals running hip hop. So you got real gangs who are getting their members into the hip hop culture, and then they start making money. Then in the course of them making money, they're now using that money to put it back into the gangs to prop the gangs up. So now the gangs is being popularized. So you got people running around talking about, oh, I'm a Pyru and I'm a Rolling 60 Crip and all this other shit. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you guys doing? It's like, you understand that people in that lifestyle are there because they can't get out. And then you have people who either got out or people who were never in it to begin with, who are now popularizing the culture that they should be leaving behind. I mean, Nipsey Hussle was another one. He was associated, I think, like the Rolling 60 or Rolling 20 Crips, and he was still roaming around with those individuals. And then what happened? He got into a dispute with a guy he used to get associated with, and then he got gunned down. Boom, he's dead. What was it, 31 years old? Shot down in his own city, in his own neighborhood. So it's like these people, they're so obsessed with the fame and the money that they don't see any of the negative actions of their decision makings. And it's like, you can't, if you don't know by now how bad this shit is, no one's ever going to teach you until it's too late. And by that point, it's like you have no one to blame but yourself.
Well, as someone who has watched endless Aaron Hernandez documentaries on the Reels channel, I kind of sense that this is where this kid is going. If he's not pulled out, or if he doesn't pull himself out, because it is. I don't know why he feels the need to glorify anything, or why he needs to like flash guns and do all that. I mean, he's a very wealthy individual. I'm sure he could afford to live outside of that. Yeah, it's been glamorized for many years through music and through film. Well, I don't know if glamorized is the right word. It's been popularized. All I can say is that since I don't know who this person is, just the idea of literally just going to a strip club and having a need to bring a gun there, I don't think that's what they mean when they say if he's packing. I'm sure it's something else. All he needs to do is just grow up. You know what? We should send someone like Will Smith to slap him around a few times and just say, "Wake up! You know, you're ruining your life. Stop it. Pull yourself together. You're wealthy. You have great skill. You're paid millions of dollars to do something that most of us cannot do. Why are you going to throw it away trying to impress people that are not that are not worth it?" But hey, that's the world that he wants to live in, and hopefully he won't end up dead or killing someone just because he feels he needs to present a front to the world.
I mean,
This
this
is
all
just really
ends
kind of
one
sad.
way, but yeah, go ahead.
Oh, it's really just sad, and this is yeah, it's really sad. Just you have all this potential and talent and money, and you throw it away for you know fire sticks and hose, man. So
Yep.
I mean,
this
one,
is where your degeneracy and the decadency of modern culture will lead you. So reject modernism, everybody.
especially this sort of modernism. But this are what group said that they're backing this guy
Nike.
after Nike? Well, that
Mhm.
doesn't surprise me. They back Colin Kaepernick, but this dude brandished a firearm in a strip club, waving it around. That's criminal menacing. And whether or not, or if he owns, or if that's registered to him, then that's criminal possession of a firearm. If it's not registered to him, those, depending on what state you're in, can be felonies, and those can also lead to serious jail time. If he
Which
thinks
they're
that,
investigating.
yeah, I'm hoping those investigations yield fruit because you got to get people that are this stupid off the streets for their own safety and the safety of the public. Now, a lot of people, I love seeing people on social media saying I could rock the orange jumpsuit and yada yada yada. Take it from somebody who has been in jail, folks. It's you can talk a big game, but until your first beat down, you will not know whether or not you can handle jail. And as somebody who has actually received more than one, well, I'm still here. I don't ever want to go back because it's not worth it. True, I was in jail for through no fault of my own, false accusations and whatnot, but still, it's it hardens you, but it also makes you cold and bitter, depending on how long you are or you spend in there. So people
Yeah.
who like to glorify jail and who like to break the law and act like a tough thug and all that, and this dude's saying he's going to be the new Tupac or whatever. What happened to Tupac? Oh, right. He's dead. He got gunned down because he was all big and bad.
Yeah, that little diss track, "Hit 'Em Up," that everyone says is the greatest diss track of all time. You do realize Tupac was gunned down 3 months after that song released, right? Like he made a lot of enemies with that song, and those enemies pulled through. And to answer Duke Nukem's question here, or really his statement before we move on here, I don't understand why these rappers that are rich want to go back to the hood lifestyle. You had some people like remember the saying back in the day was studio gangster, where they would claim that they would be all to this gangster lifestyle, but they really weren't. I think the problem is that now you have these new brand of rappers who it's not that they want to go back to the hood lifestyle. They never leave. Like they just become rich and famous, but they're still within the same gangs, still within the same criminal element. They just never left. All the difference is now they actually have money because of hip hop. So this is a problem that a lot of people have been talking about for years, but nobody wants to address any problems specifically with the Black community because problems like this require a degree of accountability, and you just can't preach accountability to this community anymore. You just can't. And this is where we're at now.
Well, I'm
that
pretty
would
sure.
be racist.
And true.
I would just say we need to send Suge Knight to talk to John Morant, and I'm sure he can set him straight.
Suge Knight's
isn't he in jail
currently.
too?
Yeah,
he's in jail too.
Suge Knight, I swear, he's like the one of those people that like he's committed way more crimes than he ever got caught for. And so, they got me. Time to go to jail.
They caught him on something he did in like 2008, and I just forget like the last 30 years prior to that and all the shit.
Not killing Tupac and all that shit. But
no, he didn't kill. No, I think he didn't kill Biggie.
Oh, see, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm so out of it when it comes to those.
Because he was with Tupac when he got shot.
Okay, fair enough.
Somehow he didn't die.
Watch the movies. Watch the movies.
I don't want to. I saw Notorious like when it came out in 2006, but that was about it.
I mean, seriously.
Suge will help John turn things upside down. Yeah, ask Vanilla Ice how that ended for him.
I mean, anybody who glorifies this stuff honestly needs their heads checked. I mean, it's like, so you're glorifying something that can potentially kill you. As much as I am a sucker for adrenaline rushes and whatnot, it's not exactly I do not actively pursue something that will, or that could lead to another killing me. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die on my terms. I'm not going to seek the ire of another and push them to a psychotic break to the point where they get violent, to the point where they want to end my life. It's just beyond stupid how this culture of how rap actually used to be an art form. Now it's, there are
hip hop used to be the art form, and then rap took over.
Yeah. There are a few exceptions out there. I like Tom McDonald's rap because he actually puts a message behind it that's actually a valiant message. But the stuff, or this gangster rap and shit, Dr. Dre once said in one of his lyrics, N-word, we started this gangsta shit, and this is the motherfucking gangsta shit. It's like, motherfucker, know your history. Irish, started this gangsta shit in the United States. Don't ever fucking think you're more dangerous than the Irish.
All I'm going to say is that you're never going to be able to say the name Tom McDonald and Rob will not laugh. So just
I'm sorry. There are people who genuinely like him or think that he's talented. And granted, I watch a show every day where people shit on Tom McDonald, so I'm incredibly biased.
And Crowder.
But like seriously, even when Christian Toto's like, I like Tom, I'm just like, I have to leave the room. I'm sorry.
Tom McDonald's one of those dudes where it's like, yeah, he definitely has talent. I can appreciate that. Like, basically, he says he's completely independent. Like, all the shit that he does between him and his girlfriend, like, that's super valiant in its own right. Most people just, fall into the system. So, like, on that aspect, like, it's respectable what Tom McDonald's doing, but he's really not a good artist. Like he's not. Like, I can listen to some of his stuff, like, occasionally, because it's like everything else is also trash too. So it's like whatever. But I wish he would just fix his choruses. Then I think that he'd get
the lyrics that I like more than the music itself.
Yeah, like, he definitely brings up some good points in his music for sure. But yeah, he's one of those dudes that's like, yeah, like, I appreciate that he's like anti, like, he's counterculture, so I appreciate him for that, but he's not necessarily like amazing by any means.
I don't know who this person is, so I've got no dog in this.
You're lucky. You're very lucky.
Well, we'll play you a video after the show.
Please.
Okay.
All
right. All I can say is that with this rap and all these people, these rappers being killed. This doesn't happen in other genres. I don't see Enya getting involved in any of these blood
I've made the
feuds.
same point for years, and people they don't want to connect the dots. It's like you don't see Katy Perry repping the Pyrus and getting into a shootout with Taylor Swift on the Roller 60s. Like this only happens in one specific genre of music, but no one wants to talk about that. So okay,
Well, we don't know what Yo-Yo Ma
You didn't
does.
see the shit that
after
happened back in the
hours.
90s between Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears, did you?
They made out, did they?
That was probably PR generated.
No, they made. There was a time that they made out, but a year prior, Britney Spears, you won't find it on the official record, but she actually got arrested for attacking Christina Aguilera.
Hey, the only one I've seen attack anyone is Bjork, and that's when she went bonkers in Thailand.
Yeah, she's crazy.
yeah.
I mean, wearing that bird dress.
That's Oscar nominee Bjork. We forget.
Speaking of bad decisions, let's talk about the latest film from Seth Rogen. You know Seth Rogen, right? This is fucking ass clown. He decided somebody put him in charge of a new animated Ninja Turtle series. Him and his good buddy Evan Goldberg are producing this one. Oh, Paramount. Oh, there you go, right there. They're known for bad decisions, and we're gonna get a new Ninja Turtles with, I guess, a fat black April Hunter now. So, but this is the thing. So, I'll be April O'Neil. So, first trailer leaked for Seth Rogen's new Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. And it sounds just about as bad as everyone thinks that it is. I mean, he's playing Bebop. I think Jackie Chan is in this. John Cena, Hannibal Buress. It's like, okay, like whatever, dude. I can go on a huge, massive rant about like Seth Rogen and Canadians in general, but I'll just save that for another day. It's like I said, the new racial status quo is that if you're a redhead, you must be replaced by a black woman. That's just the way that things work now. So this film comes out in August. So this will be a summer movie. They released a trailer for it, and of course, people were quick to say, "Who is this? Who is this fat black woman playing April?" And then, of course, people like I think it was like Angry Joe went on social media to call people who didn't like it racist and sexist and all that old nonsense that he likes to say because Angry Joe's a fucking mark, just like everybody else. But yeah, the whole thing doesn't look good. The animation doesn't look good. The character design doesn't look good. So everyone who's a fan of the Ninja Turtles is going to be very, very angry when they see Seth Rogen's vision of what this whole thing is going to be. Master Splinter, played by Jackie Chan here. There's another picture of him there. Then, of course, we have three unsure criminals, so I'm pretty sure are going to be like Trump supporters or something like that. It's Seth Rogen. Don't be surprised if they find a way to get to that point. There's your new April, played by Ayo Eda I'm not going to pronounce these names. This is like trying to pronounce the names when we were watching the UFC last Saturday night. It's like if you have too many vowels and constant, like, I'm not reading that shit. But yeah, here it is. And now this also led to another argument here about whether April has always been black. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this on social media about people. They're running with this picture from like the original comic, like in the 1980s, saying, "See, April was actually originally a black woman," and then you realize like, no, that's not. Just because a white girl in the 80s has a Jerry curl doesn't mean that she's black. That's not the way that it works. But people are legitimately running away with this as if they seem like absolutely smart. Here's the picture here. It's also in the Bounding article. They're trying to say that that this is evidence that April was always black, and that anyone who's complaining about her not being black this time around is just one big old giant racist, because that's the way that the world works, because you guys are stupid. Cassie, I know you've talked a lot about this thing from multiple angles, but what is just your thoughts on Seth Rogen pissing on yet another franchise? Because it seems to be what he does now.
Like, Paramount, are you fucking clown? Like, did you not see Santa Inc? Like, that was a giant heaping pile of shit from Seth Rogen. Like, absolute dog piss at best. And apparently they just, if you fail, here's more work. Continue to be the failure that you are. It's like the only thing like reputable, like Seth Rogen the past few years is What, The Boys. So it's just strange that he gets, to helm a very, beloved franchise that has had a lot of staying power. Every generation from like the 80s on has had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so it's just, I wish they would treat their properties with more respect and protection. But a lot of people have been about, oh, you know, April O'Neil was originally supposed to be black. The creators did not say that. And just, I mean, I am half white, also Puerto Rican. My natural hair is extremely curly. So, you know, like, what does that make me black? Like, technically, I have like similar skin complexion to this individual. My natural hair color is dark brown, and naturally, it's very curly. So, am I black now too? Like, how does this work? If anything, the creator said that originally they were going to make April Asian, but they ended up making her white. So this whole nonsense in regards to April was always supposed to be black, no. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but no. If, like, my thing is, look, if you wanted to make April black, and honestly, I prefer that the characters be represented the way the creators intended. But if you were going to make her black, why don't you make her, since I just watched The Last Dragon, why don't you make her look like Vanity or something? Someone that's actually, you know, nice to look at. Vanity was very pretty, half black, half white, I believe. And why don't you make her, like, character design something like appealing, and instead of this fucking fat tub of shit that you're gonna have to look at and actually address her as April O'Neil. I'm sorry, I'm good. I have no interest. If anything, you're just bastardizing the character, and it's not out of goodwill when I see that. Oh, not only we're gonna race swap April O'Neil, but we're gonna make her a fat slob too. And it's like, you're not going to win anyone over with this. If you're going to race swap, at least make it in an appealing way and make her character good to win over your audience. Because naturally, the race swap in itself is going to be hard to accept, because we've seen April O'Neil for many years, many different iterations, and she's a white woman. So at least if you're going to do that, which at doing it at all is not in you know, it's not in goodwill, obviously. None of these, a lot of these people are just self-hating fucking white people that are just desperate to prove that they're not racist, like Seth Rogen. But if you're gonna do that, can we just have at least a visually appealing character that's cool instead of whatever the fuck they're trying to do here?
And I want to clarify this just real quick too, because this is another reason why it's very disingenuous. These people are trying to be like, "Oh, well, the original one was black." First of all, no, she's not. Second of all, if that's even your argument, why wouldn't you at least style the character to be like the one you're trying to reference in the first place? Because the April O'Neil and the Seth Rogen thing looks absolutely nothing like the one you guys are talking about. This is what she looks like in the Seth Rogen movie. So why are we even bringing up the chick from the 80s with the curly hair? Well, she looks nothing like the character you guys have modeled in the first place.
So it's almost like they're trying to create like this composite image of the most unattractive features that they could come up with, while still, you know, while making the character black. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like we want this person to be heroic, but they're fat, they're nerdy, they're you know what I mean? They probably lack a personality. I mean, there's all the sort of long list of characteristics you would never want in a hero, you know, in a heroic character. Here's the thing: like, what did Mindy Kaling do successfully to get Velma? To have the creative influence behind Velma. You know what I mean? Like Seth Rogen, this is the thing. In my adolescence, I was actually a fan of Seth Rogen movies, you know, Knocked Up and The 40-Year-Old Virgin and Funny People. Even a movie I saw recently, Observe and Report. I actually still like that movie a lot. You know, I think it's a really good dark comedy, but that guy has completely sold out to like what his fans wanted, what his fans like, what they want to see. He seems hell-bent on destroying anything that, you know, that his fans might like. So whether that's Christmas Inc., that terrible fucking Christmas, you know, a subversion, or a terrible Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which again, it doesn't seem like anybody wants this. So why is it being made? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just wish they'd stop doing this. Like when I saw this online, I was like, they're really just doing this with everything, aren't they? They're literally, and not that you literally like everything's going to be bad, but the fact that they're having to race swap this many characters that are not, you know, basically not that character, it's really bizarre. And you have to wonder if like they don't just hate their fans.
Well, it's much easier to hijack essentially an established character than it is to create something original. I mean, you did this with Velma. I mean, honestly, she looks like Velma's cousin. I mean, she doesn't look that much different from the Velma that we have now. I don't understand why they need to do this unless these people genuinely hate the source material. We've seen this with Velma, and we saw this with what is it? The Kevin Smith He-Man Masters of the Universe, where again we had to build up the female characters at the expense of poor He-Man. I mean, the whole show is called He-Man. With this person, first I would have said that that original image that's supposed to be the original Black April, she looked to me more like Donna Summer than she did, you know, anything else. So I mean, again, going to Cassie's point,
Love Donna Summer.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you couldn't find you know, if you're going to make her black, why can't you make her look like Donna Summer? I mean, Donna Summer's a
Or
beautiful
Marilyn
woman.
McCoo. People that are actually like I can look at and not want to vomit.
Yes, I don't understand why you need to make April now so schlubby, so unappealing.
Because you know why, and this is what hurts a lot of people's feelings. She looks like probably one of the writers or someone associated with this film. Then they use them as the model. All of these people who are schlubby and unattractive, just like the Velma series, they all look like people who are involved with the show. So then when people react negatively to the way these characters are modeled, it's like, why is this unattractive person modeled as the character I like? They take it personally because they're self-inserting themselves into these movies and television shows. So that when people reject them, they're like, oh my god, they're rejecting me because that person looks like me.
They're losers.
Well,
These
I
fucking
don't. I
people are
you know,
losers.
no offense. I mean, you should work to create the best character for that character. I mean, you should try to create the best for your character, not try to make a representation of yourself. I have no interest in seeing you know, a Hispanic.
Put it this way: nobody wants to watch you in a movie. They don't. No one wants to pay $17 to watch someone who looks like you in a motion picture.
Oh, I don't know. I think people might pay to see me personally, but that's neither here nor there.
No.
You know, all they have to do, I tell you, they just have to cast Joe Latruglio to play me in a biopic, and he's Italian, so it's a puzzle as to why he gets to play me. Point being, look, if you're going to create a positive, if you want to race swap April, I have no problem with that. I'm not as attached to the characters, but why not make her more appealing? Why not make her look like even you could go farther back?
Because then you'll be
Eartha Kitt.
appealing to the male gaze. We don't want to do that either because that's bad too.
Oh yes, but then you're going to end up losing audiences because I'm sorry, there are not a lot of people who are going to want to see, like, if you I mean if you wanted to create April O'Neil and you wanted to make her black, are you going to what do you think is going to be more appealing, if you make her look like Eartha Kitt or if you're going to make her look like Wanda Sykes? I'm sorry, I'm going to go for Eartha Kitt. I would rather see Eartha Kitt as April O'Neil than Wanda Sykes. Right. I don't understand why you need to change it. Fine, if you want to have this representation, quote unquote, to make little black girls feel better about themselves because they've never seen a black female character in film or on television in their whole lives, then it's not going to be the worst thing for me. But why go to make them look so unappealing? I mean, to me, honestly, when I first saw that picture, I thought that she was like Velma. Like, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they had some kind of weird crossover where Velma and April become lovers and run off together. I mean, that might well just get that over with. I'm
but
sorry.
The fat, dumpy cat lady, it's like they can be heroes too. Like, she doesn't have to be pretty. She can be dumpy and gross looking. You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
I don't understand why they went down this route, because Into the Spider-Verse sequel has them beat. Not only did they race swap Spider-Woman, but she's this fucking pregnant bitch that's doing flippity floppity all sorts of retarded shit while pregnant. So they got you beat. This is like you're pandering and like, but they did more. So you're not woke enough, you dumb fucks.
I'm
The
just
way I
puzzled as
see
to
it,
why
It's
Seth
never
Rogen
woke enough,
has a
Cassie.
career. I mean, he's had nothing but failures. Santa Inc., Sausage Party. Um, what else has he? Yes, what else has he done? What I mean,
I've said
Green
this many times
Hornet.
the
before.
last
For heaven's
thing that
sakes.
Well, just real quick, and I'll let Orange go. I've said this many times before. The only movie that I think still kind of holds up with Seth Rogen's is This Is the End, only because it's literally a movie about how big of an asshole everyone in Hollywood is at the end of the day. Outside of that, I've never got into his shtick. I've never got into any of his comedy. He's never been that funny with me. He's always been a guy that's like, okay, you basically have to be intoxicated to like anything that he does. And he's a selfish Canadian prick too, on top of all that as well. So yeah, I've never liked this dude, and I hate him even more now. So go ahead, Orange.
the only movie that I like Seth Rogen in is Paul, and it's because he only provides the voice for for the alien that he plays. And I'll admit that movie is pretty fucking funny because it also has Simon Pegg and his buddy in it, and Jack or Nick
Nick
or
Frost.
Nick Frost, and it's like that's a good movie. But as for this new tranny teenage mutant ninja turtle thing with a freaking race swapped April and most likely a transgender Donatello because it's got a girl voice. I think that people should or if they really want to piss off these people who are race swapping and constantly creating white erasure and showing that, or Hollywood continues to spread the message that black people don't deserve their own characters. Perhaps it's time that people start doing the whole white Black Panther, start promoting race swaps of their own. I want a Martin Luther King Jr. movie Martin Luther King played by Jake Gyllenhaal.
You know that was weird because I'm sorry. Go ahead, Orange.
It's like if you guys support race swapping in one way, you should support it in another way. And honestly, that's the only fucking way that these assholes are going to learn, because what they are doing is blatantly racist. Because they continue to do it over and over, and they're specifically targeting redheaded characters.
Well, perhaps also, I don't know if Anne Boleyn was a redhead, but she was played by a black actress. And people who said, this doesn't make any sense. Anne Boleyn was not black. They said, oh, well, you're being racist. Why can't a black actress be in a Tudor era miniseries?
Because the character wasn't black.
Because this is a real historical character.
Because it doesn't make any sense. So I would say to them, all right, so would you have any problem casting Laverne Cox as Anna May Wong? Would you then object to Salma Hayek Pinault playing Golda Meir? Or would you have Lucy Liu play Indira Gandhi? Of course not. Why? Because they would say, oh, well, no, that's racist. You're erasing them. It doesn't make any sense. They don't have any standard. But at this point, again, I've said this repeatedly. Who is the target audience for this show? Honestly, all of these shows that do the race swaps and the gender swaps and change the characters, who is the target audience? They're not going to bring in the old fans, because the old fans are going to reject it. They're not going to necessarily inspire new fans, because I really don't see that many young black females looking up at this new April and saying, oh yes, that is what I aspire to do. I want to look like a homeless bag lady. I don't understand who the target audience is. I don't understand why they're thinking this. But I've said this so many times. I'm tired of saying it. And Cassie, I just want you to know, as someone who is full Mexican, I will keep you as member of La Raza. Don't worry about it.
I can dig it.
I will say, from like a writing perspective, this is just sad and pathetic, and we shouldn't I don't want to tell people like don't go watch this, because I think that's kind of rude, but it's like don't waste your money on this, at least, I mean, like this is just so lazy. If so, like I've written characters that are fat, dumpy, and stupid and shallow and all this and stuff before, so I know what I'm talking about. And I've written characters that have some of my specific traits. If you look at some of them, you'll see a lot of my narcissism and my neuroses in them.
And thirst for murder.
Oh well, those have to be very subtle.
Only against Ezra Miller.
Yeah, but I mean, like if I had done this, so what I would have done, I would have just kept April like normal, okay, like her normal usual self. Get the redheaded in there. I mean, when was the last time we had a really good redheaded character on screen anyway? And I would have introduced like the black lady character as like a rival for her job in like the journalism field. I think that would have been a really great way that you could see people like the bad guys like use her to like manipulate her and get intel and have this kind of like really good B plot, you know, to the movie. And you could have added in the let's all be friends women, because women need to support each other moment at the end where Black April goes to regular April and says, hey, we need to like solve this because, you know, we're the women. You know, and it would just been much better. So
well, I don't know if women are always cooperative. I mean, I saw
that's the funny part is like posing them as rivals at first, where they begrudgingly give each other respect for their expertise in their film, and building up to this plot twist.
No, I saw The Women from 1939.
Yeah.
They were catty and bitchy and just really mean to each other. So I don't know why women are always considered to be cooperative. Though I'm glad
that's like the message that they want to push. Though I mean, think about that scene in She-Hulk where all the women are like, "Oh, you poor lady, you need makeup." And
in She-Hulk, I never saw She-Hulk.
Yeah, good.
Yes.
You don't need to.
Although I'm glad that they. I'm glad that they opted not to do the all-female Lord of the Flies, which even like the most ardent feminists were like, no, that's just stupid.
Well, that's just Mean Girls.
Oh,
so.
Yeah. It would be over in an afternoon, okay? Seriously.
Do you think these girls are going to hunt for their own food? No, they're going to wait around for a man to show up and do it for them, okay?
That's sexist.
That sounds about right.
Well, no, that's nature.
So
that's literal nature.
I mean, like, really, yes. Okay, I will support that. That is nature. I expect my husband to like cook the food. Okay.
Well, I do want to
catch it anyway.
I do want to move on to our next topic here. Now, Cassie, I know every week you do on your Discord, you do, I guess, a live watch with the Last of Us show. And from what I hear, at least the last couple of episodes have been good. The only problem is that whenever I hear anything publicly about the show, it has nothing to do with any of the actual quality content that happens on the show. It's somebody from the show whining about the gay scene of the week. And this has been going on for at least 4 weeks now. So I don't know where to start because there's multiple ways we can go about there, but I guess we'll start with this one. Pedro Pascal, who plays Joel in the film, posted transgender flag as states begin to crack down on child sex operations and medications. So this has been a whole thing, and this will come into our closer as well too. But we're gonna hold on to this one for a moment. Hollywood is now fighting back against people who are trying to shut down the drag queen story time that we're seeing all around the country. People who are trying to get these gender affirming surgeries shut down, where they're really ripping skin off of people's arms and legs to make fake unattachable penises and stuff like that, and all the other butchery that goes along with being in the transgender community. And the people in Hollywood are trying to defend this as, oh no, they're the victims. We have to stand up because this is all about civil rights. Like cutting off your penis and cutting off chunks of your skin to make a non-functioning penis is now a civil right. And Pedro Pascal, who is a known simp, posted this on his social media. So a bunch of trans flags and pride flags and all the other things. By the way, the new pride flag is just absolutely hilarious to me how ridiculous it looks now, by the way. But he hasn't been the only one here. The only flag, I think somebody said on his Instagram, the only flag that will unite our country. Sorry not to say it, but it ain't this one. It says that celebrities should not flaunt things like this. You can support whoever you want, but you have your audience when you do this. Leave politics out of it. Look, it's Hollywood. If you honestly think at this point they're going to leave politics out of this, I don't know where you've been, because it doesn't seem like you're not even on level one of this conversation at this point if you haven't been paying attention. But we talked a couple of weeks back about how like the showrunner and the writers talk about how we have to trick audiences into watching gay scenes, and then there was another argument about the gay scene between Ellie and what was the case, the black girl that
Riley.
happened a couple of weeks back, Riley, a couple of weeks back, where she was telling everyone, hey, if you don't like it, then every single week it's like, hey, if you don't like it, then don't watch it. And here we have once again Bella Ramsey, who I think for like the third week since the show has come out, has responded against the gay backlash behind the show. Now, this is the woman who came out as non-binary like 2 weeks before the show debuted, and literally everything has been about gay this and gay that. So she's talking here about this, about the backlash to the show, of all the LGBTQ stuff. And she says that I had an oath with the show creator, Craig Manzin, that I was not going to look at comments. And I feel like I've slightly dramatically blown open that open the last couple of weeks. Ramsey admitted, talking about the homophobia of the show, I am very aware that there is a gay army who are on Twitter who are supporting me and Ellie, and that they are much louder than anyone who hate it or anyone who hate the show, the homophobic shows or whatever. And it feels nice to have that army behind me. That the reaction that I've really enjoyed, Ramsey said. So, like I said, this is coming off the heels of, I think, the episode of these two that happened a couple of weeks back. And then there was like another, I think, moment that happened in this week's episode that people were talking about. But this is all that I've heard about the show. And I haven't, I've only watched a couple of times that in Cassie's Discord. But you guys have watched the show. I'm not that big of a fan of The Last of Us. I liked the first game just like a lot of other people did, but I hated the second game. And this whole series, this whole franchise doesn't hold very well with me as far as like that goes. But it's just week after week after week. It's like, okay, I get it. You guys did something gay on your TV show, and then you got backlash for it. It's like, do we have to hear this every single week? Because I'm hearing more about that than anything about the actual show itself. Like, I think this week's show was about like cannibals or something like that, and I think they made the Christians into the cannibals. But it's like, that's only I heard from people who actually watched it. I haven't heard any promotion from anyone associated with the show regarding any of the storylines and stuff of that nature. So, Cassie, you've watched more episodes than any of us have. What do you think about just one person associated with the show after another just coming out in full force for the rainbow agenda and the rainbow flags and the trans flags and all this other nonsense that just doesn't seem to ever go away?
So first off, I expect, like, when it comes to Pedro Pascal, it seems as though his activism is as dull as his portrayal of Joel. So I'm not even surprised by that. Like, he definitely comes off like the type of person that just bare bones as fuck. So for him to just post like these flags and be like, that's my activism for the day, I'm not at all surprised. But then again, at least I think he's more honest about it than most of these other fucking clowns out here. But it's weird.
Sorry, I just laughed.
Damn. Yeah. When it comes to just the activist push, it's all these like websites want to do is highlight all this shit. And the thing is, I don't know if these individuals, these actors, actually talked about the show itself in any meaningful way, because you never find that out, because all these websites do is highlight the stuff talking about the gay, trans, whatever the fuck community. And it is annoying. I mean, it's one of those things where it's always a cop-out with the show when it does fall short. And there's definitely been episodes that do fall short. And I think there's episodes that have been decent. From what we've seen thus far, we have the season finale next week, technically this week. But when it comes down to it, the show has yet to really say to me, oh, this was necessary, or it's definitely not better than the game itself. And nobody wants to talk about that. Instead, they'll just deflect with, well, if you don't like this, you're a bigot. It's just like, no, I don't like. For me, the episode in which is discussing Ellie's backstory, in which they kind of show that Ellie is in fact attracted to women since her and her best friend shared a kiss. I didn't think that was a bad episode. It fits to the main plot line since it explains Ellie's backstory, so it's necessary. It wasn't almost an hour and a half long, like the episode 3 that was super controversial was. It's not filler. They weren't like sloppily in the most disgusting way kissing each other. Thankfully, that was my biggest concern. If like fucking 12-year-olds were just start full on making out, I was going to literally like fucking throw something at my computer screen. But thankfully, it was handled in a reasonable way, and it was indeed representative of the original work itself. Pretty close as you would expect from a transition from a video game to a TV show. So yeah, unfortunately, we can't have a conversation discussing the quality or lack of quality with the show, because it's all about my representation and all this shit. And because of that, there's no general discourse. That's why personally I stopped doing the long form spoiler reviews on my channel of The Last of Us, because the mental midgets that stan this show and stan the series, they don't want to have, you know, intimate discussions that are actually depthful in any way. No, they just rather watch a TikTok 1 minute fucking review, and if you didn't agree with everything they think is true about the show, well, you're gonna get yelled at. And if you did agree with everything, they'll just skip to the next fucking TikTok. That's literally what it is. Unfortunately, the community that supports this show are stupid. They're very small-brained individuals. That's why it's not worth it to make the long-form content, because they don't want to see that shit. It's all about, do you stand with me, and the whole rainbow army bullshit. And when Bella Ramsey does bring up like, thankful that the gay army is behind me, and it's like, you're okay with like this kind of like arrogant or vitriolic discourse if it's for your side. But when it comes to people you don't agree with and you think are against you, apparently it's wrong for them to be mean and threaten violence. Like, at least be across the board with what you're saying, because clearly when she's saying army, it's like, oh, you want them to fight for you.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's not these individuals, they typically always are barking, screaming, are willing to threaten violence, will do underhanded tactics just because you simply do not agree with them.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen 7 episodes. So the last one I saw was the Riley episode, and I there's a few things I liked about it, like the underground arcade, just little stuff like that. But I actually thought episode 7 was, now maybe it's not the worst content wise, but like it dragged. That hour just dragged for me. So, and to be fair, I never played the DLC, so I never played that part of the story, and so for me it really was unnecessary, because that was not part of like this, the story of The Last of Us, because I just played kind of the regular disc on the PS3. But no, I look, if you watch this series from start to finish, all 7 or 8 episodes, I feel like there's more like gay hints. I mean, obviously, episode 3 is an entirely gay episode, at least, especially in the second half when it explores the relationship. But the media coverage, like the articles coming out, is way more pervasive than the actual gay content in the show, in terms of like the on-screen time and how much it has to do with what's going on in the story. It seems relatively benign compared to like the amount of articles that come out about it. So I'm disappointed, because I wanted The Last of Us to be a quality, worthwhile, detailed show that gave the fans exactly what they wanted. They gave them a heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, personal story about the end of the world, and like you have nobody to rely on except each other, and you have to have that. There's a lot of really wonderful narrative things that could have been explored that just weren't. And even the places they went, it felt like the smallest level of detail was explored by the creators, that there were other things like, social talking points that were more important. And to me, that's the real loss here. That's the real disappointment, that I loved that story. I loved playing that game for that story. And I wanted some semblance of that. And I've gotten barely any of it for the first 7 episodes I've seen. So to me, it's a disappointment. To me, it should have been a lot more planned out. It should have been like 15 episodes to fully get that adaptation of the video game right. But I guess getting enough people online to be fans of it, and it's like, this is the whole thing. They don't know enough to know it's not good. That's really
Well,
the
they
sad
don't care
part.
either. The problem is, like, this show attracts the naturally ignorant, small-brained individuals. That's why I don't make long-form reviews on it. It is a complete, total waste of my fucking time. I'd rather just shit out a 1-minute review and deliberately putting in these little words just to trigger the retards to come and mass watch the 1-minute video, because there is no intelligent conversation among the people that stand the show to death. They definitely don't watch they didn't actually play the game. It's sad that it's become this, but this entire show dragged from start to finish this far. It is disappointing to me. Now the finale, like, there's so much missing from the overall narrative of the game. Completely just pissed away for episodes like episode 3. That's just a fucking, just a story that about 2 gay dudes, one that looks like the creator, the one of the directors of The Last of Us himself, Neil Druckmann, and the other one is a fat slob. So that's what we have to deal with. That's what's going to replace for the good quality content of the game.
I mean, that's all that I have regarding this. It's like one week after another. It's like, are you guys actually trying to do? Here's another thing, and I'll point this out too. People who know about The Last of Us video game, we kind of know where this is leading, and we kind of know where this is probably going to end in the next years too, which is kind of why another reason I'm not too excited about it, because if they are following the same line in the video game, we know exactly how this is going to end. We know who they're going to bring in, and like, there's a reason why nobody liked The Last of Us 2 to begin with. So kind of playing off of the
marks, though. You have the thing.
Apparently, people are still watching it, right?
In the game community, there are these people that will die on the hill of The Last of Us Part 2. Completely,
it's the same thing as The Last Jedi. It's the same thing as The Last Jedi. But like, they will die on the hill that, oh no, actually that was like the greatest game ever created. My heart was captivated, especially when that other guy that kind of looks like a dude that we presented as a girl was getting butt fucked by the other dude. That was cinema, people. You don't believe? It's like, okay, whatever.
Here's the thing. Like, I have not played The Last of Us 2. I've only heard basically whispers about what happens. I looked into it. I know what happens to Joel. And like, here's the thing. I've seen way too many like revenge movies and vigilante movies narratively to know that is a cop out. What they chose to do was a giant fucking cop out and middle finger to the fans. That's all. And look, you could defend it all you want. It's fine. If you like that game, that's totally fine. But like, that made me not even want to like buy the game, not even want to like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna, just and it's not being like it's not like taking my ball and going home. It's just like, okay, so you're taking this in this direction for certain purposes, and that's fine. I don't have to play your game.
Yeah, like I said, I have no problem with just completely walking away and not watching a single episode of this series. And all you care about is your gay army on Twitter, then you can go ahead and enjoy them, because they'll be the only ones to comfort you when your career falls as flat as your face. But any other final thoughts about The Last of Us television show here?
I will say this real quick.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Rick. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say Pedro Pascal. I have not yet seen a performance where I was like, that's that's a really good performance. He's just always okay to me, So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
This will also mark his second role in which he gets his head eviscerated and crushed.
Probably for the best.
I predict, when what's her face the chick that plays Ellie, when her career goes down the toilet, I'm gonna predict she'll be the next Elliot Page or Ellen Page, whatever the fuck. That's my prediction. We'll see.
Yeah, like just real quick, I've seen Pedro Pascal. The only thing I might have think his best role that I've seen him in is that Nicolas Cage movie he did last year, and that wasn't exactly a great movie. That's the best thing I've seen him in. So
Yeah.
Well, I've not seen this show. I've not played the game, so I've no real interest in this. But again, I think I've also pointed this out in terms of population to characters. The gay, and I'll just use gay as a catch-all again. The gay population on television and film is vastly overrepresented in terms of the actual population. So I'm puzzled as to why we need more gay representation in video games and film and television when you already have, technically speaking, an overrepresentation. If what is it, Pedro Pascal, who again I'm not exactly sure who he is, if he wants to put the flags, he's free to do so. That's his choice. It's also other people's choice not to follow him, not to watch the show if that's something that bothers them. On the transgender issue, when it comes to minors, that's something I think that would require a lot of forethought. I'm not comfortable with the idea that kids who are 6 or 12, 14 even, would say, yes, I'm in the wrong body, and that requires surgery, because that's pretty irreparable there, at least for a male to female. And with a female, you're having your breast removed. That is also very, very concerning, especially if you're a minor. I still would not. I would say that it's not a good idea.
I mean, look, the male to female is bad enough, but I mean, God, if you're seeing what they're doing to these women who are trying to transition into men, like it's just straight up butchery. And you guys are either so ignorant to what's actually happening, or obviously you know exactly what's happening. You're all in for it. It's like I can't see how any rational person would look at what they're doing to these girls, be like, oh no, I totally support this because I'm an ally. Like, go fuck yourself. Like, seriously.
I think this is an easy Hollywood point to score, a little brownie point to gather. I agree with you. I don't think a lot of people know the extensive damage that's done with some of these surgeries and the lasting impact that they have on the people that undergo them. I mean, like, it's been like that for decades with abortion too. It's like people don't realize, just all the terrible things that happen when they get the vacuum and they crush the head and suck it all out, So the people have started to kind of come to that revelation lately, and especially with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. But I mean, like, this is just something that, unfortunately, there will be a lot of victims, and there'll be a lot of, weeping and gnashing of the teeth later, where it's like, why did you let me do this? And,
well, we let you do this because you were so adamant that you were born in the wrong gender, because you could choose to be in, I don't want to say choose. You made that realization to yourself that you were a female, though born biologically male, where we can't even mark in birth certificates. I believe in some places you have to mark X.
See, I think the other side of this is that people have a very, very kind of like a fantastical view of the human body. A lot of people take their body for granted. Like if like there's like a myth that says like you can like everybody is like their brains are very similar, but women actually have a lot higher. There's a lot more connection between the midbrain because we're wired for communication and connection much more than men are. And like men just have an incredible ability to like focus on certain things. And that's why they tend to be more ambitious. They work longer hours. Their biological strength is higher. So they have more endurance. They can work these longer hours into these jobs and these career paths. I mean, like looking at when I talk about like my one friend she actually did like she was researching a part for like an alien race and stuff. And in doing so, she told me that she found over 260 differences biologically. Like that after you die, you can tell the difference between a man and a female. And it's like, I understand like depending on like what you wear, how you style your hair or whatever, you might look a certain way. But like this is talking about like after you're dead type of stuff. And it's very overly simplistic to say that because you look like a man or you want to act like a man. I mean, what does that even mean? It's so simplistic, it's ignorant, and it's irresponsible.
It's Peter
I mean,
Pan.
that's like saying like you can drive because you've driven on a Nintendo 64, steering wheel since you were 3,
But this is Peter Pan mentality. That's we were talking about this in the chat like last week or whatever. But it's like that's what this is. It's like I can be whatever I say I am, and it's like this is how a 2-year-old thinks and talks.
Yeah, well, then the real world should stop coddling this kind of behavior. Frankly, it's just going to make it worse for the rest of us who are just trying to get by and survive. I want to go back to the part of like history where it was just a shameful thing to have a mental illness and you repressed it until you
that's
died.
why I said on Twitter the other day, this world would be a better place if more people hated themselves. And what I meant by that was if more people question themselves, if more people said, is this right for me? Is this what I think? Is this how I should be? The world would be infinitely better. Okay. Because that's what we need. We need some self-awareness right now.
Yeah. I do think we need some perspective on things too, because, like people always talk about like the future with like the utopian societies and stuff. And the idea of like making heaven on earth. And it's like, history is full of people that have tried to do exactly that, and they've failed spectacularly.
It's like communism. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's exactly that, and it's like it's this this ignorance of history, and it's in this unwillingness to even acknowledge history. It's really irresponsible, and
It's
just to let you know, real socialism has never been tried.
Shut up, Rick.
Okay,
nobody believes that.
Well, yeah,
real socialism is practiced every day in hell.
My
If
Democratic
you want
socialist
socialism,
friend
there you
tells
go.
me that often.
Yeah, I'm sorry. As soon as I said that, I was like, no, that's not true. A lot of people believe that. It just happens to be false.
And it's hard. It's hard to argue about how you could have more introspection when the common refrain now is my truth. It's my truth, their truth. You cannot deny their truth.
Yeah, Kendrick Perkins.
My truth is that I have to destroy your truth. How about that?
No, it's my truth, and my truth trumps whatever objective reality you have, because you are denying my truth or their truth. So if it brings back that idea that Pontius Pilate said, what is it? What is truth? What is truth? We've gotten to that point where we can question if something is true or not, regardless of the evidence, physical and visual. But there it is. And yes, well, maybe the closest we've gone to socialism is the perfect Swedish countries, Scandinavia, where that's pure. That's close to pure, beautiful socialism. So there you go.
You mean where all the white people live?
Yep. Well, like I said, let's move on to our closer here, because this is the one that got me hot over the last couple of days, because I think when we look at Jon Stewart, I don't think we give him enough credit for kind of the downfall of kind of the entire generation, just solely based on him and a lot of things that he said and done. Now, Jon Stewart has been out of I guess you could say, the late night eye for the last few years now, but he loves to constantly talk about political issues. And then he decided that he was going to take it upon himself to talk about the whole issue with these well, like I say, states like Tennessee essentially trying to ban kids from like these transgender shows and trying to ban the transgender ideology and gender conforming crap and all that stuff. So here's Stewart here making the argument that because, well, you guys won't act on banning guns, which are killing kids, so you guys are hypocrites. This is his full statement here. It's about a minute long, but here's Jon Stewart trying to defend the transgender ideology here.
You want to ban drag show readings to children?
To my knowledge, yes.
Why?
Why?
What are you protecting?
Why can we prohibit children from voting? Those under 18 from voting.
Why are you
But
banning?
also that.
Is that free speech? Are you infringing on that performer's free speech?
They can continue to exercise their free speech, just not.
First of all, that argument in and of itself is completely retarded because then you can say, well, yeah, a strip club is free speech. We don't allow kids in strip clubs either. So that the whole argument in and of itself is pure dumbassery, but we're going to keep going here.
In front of a child.
Why?
Because the government does have a responsibility to protect.
I'm sorry?
The government does have a responsibility in certain instances.
What's the leading cause of death amongst children in this country? And
Abortion.
I'm going to give you a hint. It's not drag show readings to children.
Correct, yes.
So what is it?
I'm presuming you're going to say it's firearms.
No, I'm not going to say it like it's an opinion. That's what it is. It's firearms. More than cancer, more than car accidents. And what you're telling me is you don't mind infringing free speech to protect children from this amorphous thing that you think of. But when it comes to children that have died, you don't give a flying fuck to stop that because that shall not be infringed. That is hypocrisy.
So that's John the dumbass making the argument that if you don't want to ban guns, then you're okay with kids being killed because banning guns will stop children from being killed, right? Because that's the line that all these idiots on the left are telling themselves. So I was sitting back and I was thinking of this while I was watching this video, and I know Christian Toto is our good friend of the show, and years ago he anointed the term hate night TV. Because if you look at all the late night television shows that exist now, every single one of them is just one political propaganda show after another. Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, Trevor Noah, Samantha Bee, Seth Meyers, Jimmy Fallon, Bill Maher, all of these shows are essentially just doing late night propagandizing instead of TV. This is no longer the age of Leno and Letterman from back in the day. That days are dead. And we look back how, if you look at this, especially the millennial generation, how we used to joke about this a few years back, and it's not really that much of a joke anymore, how millennials got their news from Jon Stewart in The Daily Show rather than like actual news sources. So we had this entire generation of people who would watch 11 o'clock Jon Stewart satirizing the news, where he's basically just like mocking all right-wing talking points and simping for Democrats, like the same thing that we see in every late night show now. And now this has become the norm. This has become the norm with all late night shows. All of his stooges from his little regime there are now following his lead with their own show. We talk about John Oliver, like I said, Trevor Noah, Samantha Bee, all of these people, all these little lemmings from The Daily Show now have crafted an entire generation of really stupid people that make really stupid arguments just like this. And now we're dealing with like the fallout. So he's trying to protect drag queens performing in front of children as, hey, it's just free speech. Why are you trying to take away these people's free speech? It's like, no, you don't have freedom of speech to twerk in front of children. You fucking mark. That's not how free speech works. And then, like I said, the whole dumbass argument that they keep repeating is like, oh, well, if you don't want to ban firearms, then you're okay with children being killed. As if, oh, yeah, if we just ban the AR-15, not a single child will die ever again. Because that's the way that the world works, right? I'm so sick of this guy, and I'm so sick of everything that has come with this guy in the course of the last 15, 20 years that has completely destroyed arguably 2 generations of people, and we're still dealing with the fallout to this day. Orange, you there? Orange may be out for a second, but Rob, I'm going to start off with you. Oh, you're there. I want to start off with you, specifically on the Jon Stewart situation. Do we not blame him enough for being just a complete cancer to our society based on all the damage that he's done throughout the course of the last 20 years?
Honestly, I barely paid attention to Jon Stewart in his talk show. Last thing I really saw Jon Stewart in was The Faculty.
Literally
And,
same.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
The
Big
dude has
Daddy.
very little to really contribute to society.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he may have had a couple of quote unquote red pill moments here and there, but other than that, he's still pushing very destructive narratives. He's still saying some very stupid things. As for thinking anything that drag is acceptable in any sort of way, well, anybody who really does support adults dressing in sexualized manners and dancing in front of kids, I think that they need to be taken off the streets, put into a padded room, and left there, because that kind of destructive behavior has only led to a very dangerous slope that could literally end humanity in a way, because you're teaching these kids destructive behaviors and you're teaching it to kids that this stuff is okay. How is this stuff okay in any right mind? I mean, I'm pretty sure most of us will remember back in, I think it was 2018 or 2019, that there was this kid who was a child drag star, went into a gay bar, took off or was dancing and stripping before gay adults as they were flinging money at him. He was brought on the news, and Michael Strahan saying, "Oh, you're so stunning and brave."
Mm-hmm.
What the actual fuck?
Yep.
And
keep in mind, these are just real quick. These are the same people who will tell you, "Oh, no one will ever defend pedophilia. No one is ever. We'll never get to a point where we're defending this stuff." It's like we're already passing laws defending pedophilia. We're already passing laws that says that, yeah, if you have sex with a minor and they're willing, I mean, we're not going to charge you with any like real serious crimes or anything like that. Like we're already doing it right now. So don't tell me that you won't do it, because you already are.
And if there are, and those who actually consider to pass those laws, honestly, they should be charged with pedophilia, or they should at least be investigated to see if they have engaged in it or have any sort of thing about it, because people are still getting arrested for child pornography. But how is pedophilia, actually having sex with kids, not, or how is that not, or seen as, or how is that seen as illegal, and or how is pedophilia not seen as illegal, yet child pornography is seen as illegal? Because I guarantee you, once they start to fully legalize pedophilia, they're gonna go after the child porn, and they're gonna try to decriminalize that.
I mean, they're already defending the actual act, so why not defend the distribution of it as well, too, right? Because they want to live in this world where, oh, if we just let drag queens have access to kids, no one's going to sexually assault them. That never happens. Kids are not molested in 2023. That's not a problem. They're only being shot by guns. That's the only concern we should have with children. They know that they're being disingenuous, because I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Jon Stewart doesn't see what's actually going on. He knows he's being a disingenuous piece of shit. But they're, like I said, they're trying to make it seem like, oh no, you're crazy for having concerns about what we're trying to do with your children.
Yeah,
But
I just wanted to say I think it's insane. Okay, I couldn't tell you how much I hated social conservatives growing up in the 90s and the 2000s, and I hated George W. Bush and being. So I can't stress this enough. What I'm about to say, I would have never believed that I would be living in a society where people are genuinely defending children being taken to a sexual performance. Now, yes, it's true. There are all kinds of drag shows, and guess how many are appropriate for children? None of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't care. I don't care if it's a burlesque show. I don't care if it's at a strip club. I don't care. It's all inappropriate. It all should not be acceptable. And then the fact that, like, the fact that I'm having a moral panic about this says like, okay, I don't know, like it's not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I am very open to all kinds of artistic performances and expressing yourself. And I'm seriously, I am as open as any book. And yet what's happening right now is incredibly disturbing. And the fact that someone like Jon Stewart, a proud liberal who is supposed to care about civil liberties, like the way he disingenuously throws the First Amendment under the bus to attack gun owners, to promote child drag shows, is beyond disgusting. Like, it's because this is somebody who should be defending something like the Constitution, and yet he's using it to defend something disgusting. So I you know what? I grew up with Jon Stewart. I really liked The Daily Show. I liked when he went after, yes, he mostly went after Republicans, but he would absolutely insult and go after Democrats. Like, he used to be known as somebody who wouldn't take shit from either party. He went on Crossfire and insulted Paul Begala of the DNC and Tucker Carlson to their faces and said, "You guys are jokes." So what Jon Stewart has become is a complete embarrassment, and he is the hypocrite. Jon Stewart is the hypocrite, the person who was supposed to like defend fair-minded politics and instead just became another political hack.
Well, I remember when the Daily Show came up, it was more of just general mockery, and I put this on Twitter. It was just mocking local news and just kind of the oddball stories that would sometimes pop up in local news. That's all it was when it was Craig Kilborn. When Stewart took over, he slowly made it into a half hour uh, political rally where he was going to promote his own beliefs, and from that spun all these other quote correspondents, and all of them who agreed with him. The John Olivers and the Stephen Colberts, Samantha Bees, all of them would all be from that one side and would always go after one particular side. And then all these other shows followed suit. All the late night shows. Certainly Kimmel did, Myers did. I still think that Fallon was kind of dragged into it because I think he was generally apolitical, was trying to stay that way until he kind of either got pushed or kind of gave up and said, okay, let's just go that route. He never looked happy when he did it. The few times that I saw him, it I think Jon Stewart is the one that poisoned the well. The conversations now have gotten more vitriolic, more angry because of him. He's the one that originated this idea that you have a show and that it's your purpose not to entertain but to enlighten your audience, to tell your audience what they should think, how they should think, what they should agree on. He's the one that he's the one that was the originator. Bill Maher was kind of an outlier because he was doing that on his politically incorrect show, but to his credit, he would always have guests who were from various political views, and even now he still has guests from his various political views, and he has not really changed his views.
Yeah.
He's on occasion called out the what is called the woke. He's called out the cancel culture, and he's told Democrats, you're insane. You're defending what is really absurd. Unfortunately, Jon Stewart is the one. He is the one who started all this. It all goes back to him, and he's the one that kind of encouraged and promoted the idea that your shows are not there to entertain; they are there to enlighten. If you want to use the word indoctrination, that's fine. So he is the genesis, and from him has sprung all of these to where now they're nothing but cheering sections. Kimmel, I mean, he started. I mean, what was his reputation pre
The Man Show.
Yeah.
He was literally told dick and titty jokes. So I mean,
Yeah,
like I don't.
that was his shtick. I mean,
Right.
that's what he was seen as. And he said, if I'm going to lose Republicans, that's fine. I mean, fine. He's accepted it. It's unfortunate though that Jon Stewart doesn't want to take responsibility for all the poisoning that he thought that Crossfire or Fire, no, not Firelight, that was William F. Buckley. All the Crossfire that he called them out on, he's done the same thing. Ultimately, what is that expression? We become the thing we hate.
Yep.
In his case, that's what's happened.
And I wanted to point this out too before I let you guys go on. JEC, I should say, pointed this out too. He said he blames that RuPaul's Drag Race. Every girl he knew 7, 8 years ago loved that show, and yeah, they're all having kids now. And I will say this: the reason why drag queens are so popular, not just in this country, but all the other shows they're doing across the world, is women. Like the women are the target demographic for the shows. It's not just gay men, because if you look at the most passionate fans of RuPaul's Drag Race, it's women. Women are the ones that are driving this whole thing. Women are the ones who are taking their children to these drag shows, whether it's at a bar, whether it's at the library. It's like, this is where a lot of this shit is coming from. And yeah, we notice that there's a certain demographic of people who are going to these events. It's not just the dads taking their kids to go see this out. I'm just throwing that out there too.
Yeah. Every time you do see like libs of TikTok or whoever exposing like this retardation, honestly, and you see like drag individuals doing like their freaking like events, and you see like kids, you look into the crowd, it's always these dumb fucking white women with their children. That's why I constantly say it, and they prove it to be true. White women are the downfall of first world society, and I'm sticking to it. Not all white women, but they, I think, are the biggest fucking problem. And then they have the nerve to bitch and whine, oh, because I'm a woman, I'm oppressed. It's like, bitch, shut the fuck up. Just shut, I ain't trying to hear that shit. I'm so tired of it. Yeah, and
well, no,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, of course women are oppressed because they don't have enough people to oppress themselves. So
yeah. But with Jon Stewart, man, look, I've grown to absolutely hate anti-gun advocates because when they advocate taking guns away, they advocate for the government to show up at my doorstep, in which would inevitably lead, unfortunately, probably to my death. So when I think of that, because I'm not giving up my fucking guns, like, go fuck yourself. It's not happening. Yeah. I refuse. That is the line. That is the line. If they choose to step over it, it is what it is. I'm sorry. I have to stand up for something and for my property. Yes. Just like I all this bullshit behind me, I'd fight for it too. You know why? Because it's fucking mine. And I'm tired of people saying that I should have my property stripped from me by the government. You people are fucking pawns. And I'm just tired. I'm tired of these losers that are super ultra rich trying to tell me how to live. Meanwhile, you guys don't clean up your own backyard because you're a bunch of fucking pedophiles too. Not for nothing. So clean up your own backyard instead of worrying about what's going on with this. They don't mention how guns actually save the lives of children. That's not something that's really well documented or can be well documented. Simply in a dispute situation, 9 times out of 10, someone just pulling out a firearm tends to distinguish said argument or dispute, which is, not really counted in the sense of like saving people's lives or discouraging true violence from occurring. So, who's to say how many situations that guns do save the lives of children? But they don't want to talk about that. It's always, well, we want to take your guns away. And it's like, well, go fuck yourself. There's no conversation to be had with these people. If you believe this, you are the enemy. I don't care anymore. I'm tired of pretending to hear you out. This dude, he's just a fucking clown. He is a hypocrite. He's proven himself. And the fact that he brings up all this stuff in order to defend grooming of children in a sexualized manner, you are a sick, twisted fuck.
Yep. And by the way, let me be very, very clear here. The reason why these people want to take away guns is not because they believe that, we're protecting children by taking away guns. No, because they know they're going to drive people to a point where those guns are going to be turned at them. That's the reason why they want to take it away so badly. It has nothing to do with protecting kids, because we all know Hollywood has no intention whatsoever in protecting children when it comes to anything. Look at their history when it comes to sexual abuse, drug abuse, death, suicide, etc. So don't ever let Hollywood lecture to you as if somehow they're the savior of children. They're not at all.
Most of their child stars have a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Most
And
of their
also
child
look at
stars
Disney,
have
too.
deep, dark secrets.
I mean, Disney can't, or there isn't a sex trafficking sting done in Florida that doesn't involve a freaking Disney employee.
Yep. A lot of them like I said, not just Disney too. It's like there's a lot of studios, producers, directors who have done some real shady shit with people who are under the age of consent. Let's just put it that
They
way.
made it blatantly clear that, or some celebrities made it blatantly clear, like what's her name played Valkyrie,
Thompson? Tessa
yeah,
Thompson?
that one, Tessa Thompson. How the movie Cuties, a movie where 11-year-olds are twerking and one girl's taking off her pants and taking pictures of her vagina to get a person in trouble and whatnot. They're saying that's stunning and brave, that sort of behavior.
It's just art, bro. It's just art.
Yeah, it's just art. Well, no, and I've even did videos where I warned people, this stuff is going to be mainstream if you don't speak up now. That was 4 years, 4 years ago. Guess what's happening now? They're starting to say, or now they're starting to pipe up, but it's already too late because now you can't really do much about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean they've pushed the window to the point where they're just about as close to them advocating for fucking kids as they could possibly get without them actually doing it yet. Like I said, a lot of these states, or a lot of these politicians, are already passed laws in a lot of these states, so they can get away with it. So I don't know when you guys are willing to jump into the game, but we're already here now. So
the only
maybe
way
you guys
that
start
this
paying
is
attention.
going away is bloodshed, because there might as well be a civil war, because these people want your kids to be sex objects.
I mean,
I'm sorry. I would, or anybody who wants to push that, if you try to go after my kid or anybody in my family who has kids, guess what? My family is willing to draw blood.
There was a guy in Tennessee earlier this week who got arrested because he threatened his kid's teacher who was trying to push transgender books or something like that behind his back, behind his knowledge, without his consent. And he basically threatened the teacher with a similar saying that, yeah, if you keep going with this stuff, there will be bloodshed. There will be a fucking problem. And like I said this many times before, if you guys don't draw the line at your own children, because they're pretty much going after your kids right now, this is pretty much the hill to die on. Like there's no other hills to die on after this if you're not willing to stand up for your own fucking kids.
Yeah, that San Francisco choir that's saying we're coming for your kids thing, like weren't 4 of them convicted child?
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yep,
I saw that too. That was
shocker,
really
right?
dististerning.
Oh wow!
Did you get? I'm sure you guys heard about that couple, like that couple that's in jail
in
right
Georgia?
now. There was a town hall article about them. Like it might have been, and yeah, I thought they were from Florida, but maybe they were from Georgia.
No, they're from Georgia.
That was unbelievably like just jaw-dropping, awful, and shocking.
See how fast they swept that one under the rug? If you guys hadn't heard about this story, 2 people who were big-time LGBTQ activists, a gay couple, adopted 2 small little boys and celebrated it all on social media, talking big-time activists about gay adoption and all this other stuff. Turns out they were literally pimping out their own kids and raping their own kids that they're adopted to a whole network of pedophiles.
Videos.
Yeah, and doing all that here in Georgia, and they're both been arrested. Yeah, since then.
When I was a teenager, when I was growing up, like, I like that. What was it? Law and Order SVU genuinely shocked me because like I was so naive and so ignorant to any of that shit, and apparently that's incredibly tame to what like the real world like SVU shit. And it's like there's a certain part of me that's like I don't want to know anymore, and then there's another part of me that's also like, hey, on some level you like as an adult have to be like responsible and know what's going on in the world. So it's just like I'm constantly in this like world of like this is fucking awful, and I don't want to acknowledge it because it's fucking terrible and scary. So it's it's I don't know. There's Like, there's no way to see this and have a positive spin on it.
This kind of thing is being celebrated. I do remember when they had I believe the child drag queen pop up on Good Morning America, and I mean it's referred to, if you look up the video, is referred to as trailblazing. This is a young trailblazing child who's about 11 or 12, somewhere in that area, and this child in full drag outfit is there strutting his stuff to the applause of the audience. The parents are all very happy about it. They're happy that this person has found his joy in all of this. And I would say, you know what, I don't think that I'm puzzled as to why adults, people who are old enough to be this child's grandparents, are applauding and cheering this on. I would be very, very uncomfortable watching an 11, 12-year-old.
This was the same
Just,
kid that I was talking about earlier.
yes, this is the exact same kid. Desmond is amazing. That's the
Oh,
I believe
yeah, I
that
know
this
who you're talking
person
about.
has retired from drag at 16, and I'm just puzzled as to why any child. I don't know. I mean, this is not just a child; it's the parents who are saying, this is, I'm happy for them.
Keep this in mind too. I talked about this last year, remember, and it's still on Discovery Plus to this day. Discovery Plus last year did a whole thing about drag kids. Remember that whole controversy a year ago?
Generation Drag, I believe that's what's called.
And
Oh,
literally,
okay.
the whole premise of the show is that you have these young kids who are anywhere between literally 8 years old to I think like about 16. Not like the oldest one was maybe like 16, 17 years old. But the story is all the same. It was like, oh, I was watching RuPaul's Drag Race and I became infatuated about the world of drag. And then my parents took me to this 40, 50-year-old drag queen who then showed me the ropes of the years. And they're literally showing you on the show, like, this 13-year-old boy walking around with this 50-year-old man in full drag garb. And he's like strutting around like, let's just say, a 30-year-old woman at a strip club would strut around. And we're supposed to just like view all of this like, oh no, this is totally fine. This is all okay. This is all about being an ally of the LGBTQ community. And it's like, no, absolutely fucking not. And I'm sorry, look, if being against this meaning that I'm not your ally, then I guess I'm not your fucking ally. You're just gonna have to deal with it.
Well, I mean, this is an 11. Desmond is amazing. It's an 11-year-old who has two parents, and the audience, and Michael Strahan, and I guess the woman that was stripping her co-host. I don't know if that's her or not. They're all celebrating and cheering this on and saying, "Oh, you're inspiring others, and you get to be your authentic self, and your parents are very supportive." I'm looking at the parents; they're not exactly the most attractive people. I'm sorry to say. At least they don't look what I would consider to be attractive. But I'm just again puzzled as to why the parents, the child would say, "I want to dress up as a woman and in these very elaborate costumes and entertain adults," and the parents are like, "Oh yeah, that's just fine." I would have said, "No, you're not doing that. It's completely inappropriate for you. If you want to do that when you're maybe 21, fine, I can't stop you." But at 11-year-old, you're basically pimping out your kids to entertain adults. Because
But what are they? Okay, so if they're inspiring people, if they're being a trailblazer, what is it that they are inspiring people to do? You know what I'm
be their
saying? Like,
authentic
Fuck
self.
their
but
lives up.
listen to that. Like, you're talking about wearing tons of makeup, looking artificial. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how I would look as a woman, I guess. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what are you inspiring others to do? It's a shallow, narcissistic, like, even if you value drag as an art form, which certainly I don't. There has to be something. There has to be some kind of craft. There has to be something meaningful that's elicited from this thing. And so, other than just being like, you want people to watch you dance around a stage, it's like, okay, what is meaningful or positive about that? There's nothing.
Well, like I said, we're in this world now. Like I said, they're trying to actively normalize the idea of quote unquote trans kids. So this is why you're seeing this community wanting so much access to kids, because in reality, there is no such thing as trans kids. You have to have predator parents. But if they can make you at least believe that, no, these kids are totally making these decisions by themselves, and we're going to show you more and more evidence of, oh yeah, this 3-year-old has decided one day that he's going to be a girl now, and then we're going to raise him to be a girl because he's a 3-year-old trans kid. That's what they're trying to normalize. In order to do that, they need people who are stupid enough to give essentially their kids to these evil people.
We've passed that point, Jacob. I mean, you have Jazz Jennings, who has her children, who uses her children's books, and she's been feted and celebrated for as long as she's been around, because she knew probably before, at age 2, that even though they were born male, they are female, and their parents said, "Okay, this is what I don't understand." Granted, I'm not a parent. I don't understand when parents decided to agree with whatever the kids said they were. I don't think I would ever have told my mom, "Oh, I'm this, I'm that, or the other." I mean, she would have said no, and that would have been the end of it.
Right.
Now the parents are, "Oh yes, I'm 10, I'm 9 or 10, and I want to dress up in drag and walk around, strut my stuff for all of these adults. Oh yes, I'm going to support that. Oh, you're born a male, but you've come to the conclusion that you're a female," rather than say, "Well, this is something that we should seek out counseling for, and really consider long and carefully. Oh yes, we're going to start calling you by your quote correct pronouns. We're going to start allowing you to dress up." It's a little concerning. I've always very trepidatious when it comes to children who declare that they are transgender, because I mean, I don't think you have the mental maturity to make those kinds of monumental decisions. These are very big decisions to decide that you're going to remove your penis, or you're going to remove your breast, or you're going to do puberty blockers. I don't understand this notion that the child can declare that to the parent, and the parent will say immediately yes. Whether it's a societal pressure to say you are quote the ally, you need to be supportive of your child, or whether just parents just don't want to deal with it. I think we've seen clips that Generation Drag, where the grandmother she was, I think, one of the performers or the children. She was at least mildly reluctant to accept this, and she was the one that was condemned. I think for all these kids who want to do drag or want to declare themselves transgender, I would say you need to really not think about this. I mean, it would be like me at age 5 or 6 going up to my mom and saying, "Oh, I think I'm having a heart attack," and she would said, "No, you're not. That's not that's not possible. That's not physically possible for you to be
I mean,
having
unless you
a
got the
stroke."
jab.
This was pre-jab. This was pre-jab.
I told my mom this the last couple years I went home for Christmas. I said, I think it's a fad. I think it's literally people wanting to be a part of like whatever social movement they see as, being progressive and forward
That's
thinking.
what I see the non-binary thing as.
Yeah.
It's a fad.
Look, I grew up in the 90s. I watched enough gay cinema that was like, that talked about trans issues. And listen, I loved the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mean, that's literally about a transvestite, someone in drag, among other things. But like that, I don't know how we got to this point. Seriously, I have no idea how we got to this point, because it's like, when did everyone lose their fucking minds, and when did the parents stop, being the authority, the voice of authority in the room?
Yep.
Well, so many parents
Go ahead.
like so many parents aren't prepared for parenthood, in just general. I think a lot of, there when I was a teenager, it was a big push to have kids younger, and my parents were older than average parents. So
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's not necessarily true. You know, like I'm proof, you know, that you can have, you know, successful children anyway and be old. And I think a lot of the stuff is just motivated, I think, by well, like I know with the LGB part of it, there's a lot of abuse that goes on. And then there's like the Oedipus electrocomplex type stuff that goes on.
Yeah.
And like 99% of all the people that I know that are gay have either or issues. Most of them have abuse issues. And it you know, it's not to say that you can't choose to be or act on your desires, but some people just don't want to either. And with the trans stuff, especially, I think it is becoming a shield against criticism. You know, like I've heard for the last like 12, 15, 20 years now that millennials are lazy and entitled and spoiled and stuff. And it's, you know, like becoming, it's almost like the whole race swapping thing. It's like, it's a shield against criticism for your life choices. You can say, oh, I'm not rich or beautiful or successful or happily married because I'm this thing. And, or because I'm not catered to in terms of my gender identity, I am not this thing. And so it is becoming like almost like a safe space for people to excuse themselves from their unrealistic expectations that have been placed on them to begin with. So I have compassion. I know like everything that I just said is probably really irritating and insulting to them, but it's like I have a lot of compassion for people that don't feel like they've lived up to their potential, especially their idealized youthful potential, because those things have a way of, you know, those things have a way of making you feel like a failure, even if you are a success, you know. It's like, oh, I don't have $1 million yet, and I'm over 30, you know. You know, so I think that's part of it, and I think the other part of it is just it is a way to find acceptance and relief, and it's almost like wish casting in the sense that it's like, oh, if I only had, you know, this half of my arm chopped off and glued to my vagina, I would feel better about myself.
Yeah. But it's these like false notions that you tell yourself that set you up
and I
for
mean,
failure.
like at some point it's just too late to turn back, and that's the part where I think a lot of people do kind of start to come back from it. You know, I would hope more people would turn back sooner. So, I mean, and it's just interesting listening to some of the detrans stories. A lot of them are talking about like they've had traumatic experiences that just made them want to be a completely different person, and you know, that brings in the idea of, oh, what kind of person would I be then? And it's like, oh, maybe I'm a woman, or maybe I'm a man, or maybe I feel like a woman today. And I mean, like, even like things like Devin Mulvaney, right? Or
oh my god, what a train wreck.
I honestly feel like he's an actor. He's been brought up on the stage. He's been lying to himself so long that it just becomes really easy to lie to yourself. And this is a tragic case of the Puss in Boots theory, where it has been taken too far.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I know some of you guys may not be religious people listening to this, but let's just put it this way: we're a lot closer to the requirements that need to happen for the end of the world to take place than you probably would realize if you were to look at it yourself. Let's just make.
I've read the Bible 7 times in my life. I know it decently well. I know the Book of Revelation very well, and it upsets me on a daily basis. So just
the U.S. is basically
depressing
Sodom and
is what it
Gomorrah.
is.
Well, I will pray for you.
Thank you.
Well, we ended this show on a hot note. I could say that much. Maybe not as much as a happy note, but Yeah, that was a discussion that definitely needed to happen because I'm just completely sick and tired of Jon Stewart and his nonsense.
Leibowitz. John Leibowitz.
Yeah, right. Because don't look at that early life on the Wikipedia page because it might say some uncomfortable things if we start putting two and two together. But for now, we're just gonna sign off here on the night. By the way, just in case you guys before you head out, I did put this in a chat. This is essentially the article that I wrote a few years back about this whole thing with late night comedy. I also have a few other articles that are on the site Society Reviews as well. So if you want to check that out on your own time, I implore you to go do that. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up here by letting people promote what they have coming up. I'm gonna start with our good buddy Orange Hat here and make our way down. What you got coming up for your channel, Orange?
Well, it is the month of March, so I am doing green mystery reviews, where the theme is either a movie that has green themes or Irish themes. I just did the movie Fern Gully earlier today, and next week's hint is a sequel to 14. If you have followed my channel and followed mystery reviews and whatnot, you know what that means. I also am going to be on my friend Jade Shadow's channel tomorrow night as we discuss Boondock Saints for ones and twos. And next week we'll discuss the sequel. I do guest choice reviews where if somebody wants to come on and discuss a movie in depth, preferably a movie that we all enjoy, they get to pick the movie, the time, and the date. And I pick the venue, which is my channel. And I also cover movie news and controversies of Hollywood, much like we discuss here. And that's about it. I've also been doing more movie reviews on my channel in video form other than stream form as well. I just did one for the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer the other night.
All right, then. And then apparently this person over here has something that she wants to promote that she wants you guys to go check out. So why don't you tell a little bit people about that?
Okay, well, hey everybody. So if you really hate Hollywood's like junk of the week, go read some of my books. I have good characters with a lot of family dysfunction and romance and adventure and some just really fantastical fun things. So yeah, if you're tired of Hollywood, read my stuff instead. So, and if you want to, you can actually listen to some of it on my YouTube channel. I've been uploading my audiobooks and stuff there. So subscribe and listen. And yep, I really just like to write. And I'm really glad to be part of the Barroom podcast here because it's just like, this is my time to like talk with like real life people, adults,
Yep. All right, then. Well, Ricardo, you're next. So what do we got coming up here?
Oh gosh, I pray one day to finish a review. I'm so far behind, especially since I've got more movies that we're gonna watch. So just keep looking out for reviews of the movies that I've seen. A massive backlog. Also, I broke out my Oscar ballot so I could keep track of the winners because I am looking forward to that. And baseball season starting up soon, so that's pretty much it. It's going to be pretty quiet. Just hopefully getting a review one done before the month is over.
All right, hopping over to our good buddy Cole Classic Cage. You should probably figure out a different name so I don't have to fumble it every time I say it.
No, never. Okay, it explains me perfectly, sir. So, and I am a pain in the ass, so it naturally works that my YouTube channel's name is a pain in the ass to pronounce. But tomorrow,
Cassie's still half white. She wants to make you suffer, Jacob.
Yep.
Hell yeah! But tomorrow I'm doing a live stream, 8:00, just talking about this TMNT nonsense and things that I'm excited about. My background for the basically my thumbnail is based on the Twilight Zone because we're in the Twilight Zone as far as I'm concerned. So that's going to be fun. And Thursday the 9th, we'll be doing another live stream to live stream the NACON event. Basically, the individuals, the publishers of RoboCop are going to have an event, the RoboCop game that's coming out. So I'm excited to see that. I believe they also have a Lord of the Rings Gollum game that they're going to dive into. So if you want to come watch that with me, more than welcome to. My YouTube channel is Cult Classic Cage, or if you want to talk to me on Twitter, hit me up on Twitter, Cult Classic Cage.
All righty then. And then last but not least, our good buddy Rob. What you got coming up, Rob? I know you got a big stream you're looking forward to this weekend, so I want you to tell people about that.
Yeah, I took off work next Monday so I could get drunk for the Oscars on Sunday.
It's mandatory.
I never drink, so if you're interested in seeing what I'm like in an inebriated and slightly pissed off, irritated state, because the Oscars have turned into a shit show, just like the movies themselves, come on by. I think Society is hosting it, so it starts at 5 Pacific time, 8 o'clock Eastern. I'm looking forward to it. Before that, I'm trying to get some Best Picture winners in, like Oliver and A Man. Is that it, Rick? A Man for All Seasons?
A Man for All Seasons just aired tonight on TCM.
Yeah, it's fine. I have it on my computer. So I've got those to watch. I've got, what is it? What won last year? Coda.
Coda. Yeah.
I don't know. It's the deaf movie.
Coda
My
won
brother's
last year.
deaf. I don't care. But yeah, I got a few Best Picture winners to watch, and then I have seen all of them, so that's something. But yeah, check out the stream on Sunday, and I'll try to get some reviews out in the meantime.
All right, then letting you know what we got coming up here. So tomorrow night, as you guys know, Wednesday night is for the Black Pill stream. Myself, Spencer, John, Josh, Cider has been killing it on all the production stuff that's been going on with this show. We finally got intro. We got actual content as far as that goes. So that show's been getting a lot better. That's tomorrow night at 9 p.m. as well. Like I said, this Sunday we'll be reviewing, I guess, live streaming the Oscars. So God help us. This is the Monday coming up on the channel. We're going to be reviewing 3 movies. I'm going to be reviewing Scream. Rick is going to be reviewing the film Champions, and then Rob is going to be reviewing the film 65. So we'll be doing that one next week, and then next Tuesday night, same time, same Barroom Podcast, episode 39 coming up here pretty soon. So we're already very close to the 40s here on this stream. So outside of that, you guys can look forward to more 1-minute reviews that I'm working on. I got a lot of little editing to do. It doesn't take long to do one, but when you're doing multiple at the same time, it can get a little bit tedious. So they're coming out. So just keep an eye out on those for when they do. But until then, it's been a great night. Thank you to all of our guests here. Orange Hat had to dip out a little bit early. Thanks to him as well. To everyone in the chat, Alex vs. Evil, Doba Fett, our good buddy Duke, Zero Dozer, JEC, Drax the Clown. Make sure I don't miss anybody. Spencer was here. We don't need to thank him. He wasn't even here for most of the show anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure I got everything. I think DK was here a little bit as well too. Black Metal Gamer, who was here with us a little bit earlier on. Neo, who had to dip out a little bit early. So for everyone who joined us for the show tonight, thank you for joining us. Hopefully we see you guys next week. We got a whole bunch of streams coming up. So we got 3 straight days of streams coming out from Sunday to Tuesday. So there'll be a lot of content in there. Until then, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Let's hit the spring yard, wave to the crowd. Goodbye. This person's not going to wave to you because she's too good to do that, but I'm pretty sure that the rest of us are, not as bad. Good night.